What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. How are all you beautiful people doing? And we are back, man. I miss you guys. It was a long week, man. I had to take a day off last week, man. But I appreciate all you guys hanging out with us tonight. Once again, retweet the link, share the link, let everybody know the Shop Podcast is live. We got the original Monster Trio in the house tonight, man. But we might have a guest fall through. If you guys didn't know, you didn't see the link or the post that I put up earlier. Mav, shout out to Mr. Fun Speculation himself, supposed to fall through today and hang out with us, get into some of these topics. So he might be falling through a bit late. We might have some other guests fall through. You never know who I shoot the link out to, man. So once again, chat, let us know what you guys think of the show. Appreciate you. What's up, Adidas 20 member for 4 months? Appreciate you, man, dropping in here, doing that for us. And if you guys want to, really help out the show, do things like that, that is also available for you guys to do. No pressure at all. Just you guys watching, sharing the link, being here, hanging out with us is enough for all of us. But, man, I've already been talking too much. I miss you guys so goddamn much, man. Let's have some fun tonight. We got a lot to talk about, a lot of divisive stuff, but we're going to have some fun here. You guys know what we do here at the Shop Podcast. We don't run from any of this stuff. We're going to get into everything, man. And we got the best people here on the Shop Podcast to do it, man. So shout out to everybody hanging out live. But I got to get it to my brothers, man. I missed these guys last week, man. We did a whole lot of talking. Whole lot of talking. Oh, and wait a minute, man. Did we get the train started earlier today? Did we get the... I think we got... Go ahead.
Do we get the train started? Oh, look at this. Adidas 20 comes on through after doing that little member super chat. He comes on through with the easy 10 dunk out here, getting the hype train up to a Mach 2.25 on the Shop Podcast, keeping it ad free in 2024. The 10 dunk here tonight and says, I'm here. We know you are, sir. Welcome, and thank you for dropping off that bag of coal so we can get the furnace burning a little hotter on this train on a Saturday night. Thank you, Adidas 20. Let's go.
Man, let's go, man. Let's get it, man. I appreciate you guys all falling through, man. We got a lot to talk about, man. Shout out to you, Adidas, for falling through, man. Let's get the train hype, man. And speaking of, man, I know you guys, the ads on the podcast, man, I'm going to do my best actually to go in and actually start editing these ads the best I can, because I understand they do break the immersion. I try and pick the best option to get the least amount of them during the podcast. So I'm going to do a little bit better there. I'm going to try the best to stop breaking the immersion with some of the ads, but you know how YouTube does. But I appreciate you guys sticking with us either way, man. But let me throw this over to my brothers. I'm curious to see what kind of weeks you guys had, what y'all been playing. Chat, let us know what y'all been playing too, what games you've been playing, how you've been playing them, what you've been playing them on. But I'm gonna throw this over to you, Mr. Pong. So I know what you've been playing.
Yeah, you know the major stuff I've been playing, and it's been one game, but a couple smaller ones. Obviously, still rocking and roll on Diablo 4. I know it's not the cool thing to do, but I keep popping in.
I'm still on there, man.
Hey,
I popped in earlier today.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm nearly level 70 again on this character. Almost completed the whole festival that they've got going on right now with all the freebies. So I've been still kicking around in Diablo 4 because I love that game. I won't stop loving that game. I know there's certainly criticism to be had there, but man, I don't care. I'm addicted to Diablo, man. I love it. So I've been doing that. I've been rocking a little bit of Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. Keep making slow progress in that. I'm not playing it for long sessions, but I am making progress. I'm like in chapter 3 now. Game. It's a fantastic game. Brother from another Psychonauts has already finished the game. He is level 50. Wow. He is telling us that you can cap out at level 100, and there are things to do after you are done with the main story. So that game is phenomenal. Again, anime JRPG action adventure set up in the classic style, so not some big open world, but a lot to explore and a lot to discover, and the characters are amazing. The voiceovers are awesome. The story is cool. Everything about that game I love. And now we got Tales of Arise dropping in next week. Another JRPG that I absolutely enjoyed the hell out of with the demo. So I will be having my JRPG fix in a couple different places there. But of course, the big one, the one that has been just a nice, slow, steady burn as people catch on to how good this game is. But if you had been listening to any of the shows that I am on, I was on this train from day one when we saw it. And that is, of course, Helldivers 2. I played the original top-down twin stick shooter on PlayStation 4, Arrowhead Studio back with Helldivers 2. We know the changes that they made, brought it to that third-person over-the-shoulder shooter, and they captured all the chaos of the original and brought it to that perspective. And my, oh my, do they have some magic here. This is, again, you guys already know what I'm promoting in 2024. The opposite of everybody else. Pure, unadulterated fun. That's what this is. This is not some complex game. This is not some deep ass game that everybody's got to figure out what they mean about things. And oh God, the story's, I got me clutching my pearls and I'm crying. This is what video games were all about. Some of you people out here seem to start gaming during the PS4 generation, and you guys don't know what gaming really comes down to sometimes, and it's about having fun, and Helldivers 2 crushes that, and more and more and more people are finding out why that is with this game. This game is phenomenal. Played with Fuzzy. We've been teaming up, obviously, Steel, Jasper, Mav. We've been rocking out in squads. Even the team killing in this game, which you can't turn off, is an absolute blast. But when you are in the middle of a firefight and you got bugs or robots closing in on all sides and you're waiting for that extraction ship to drop in on you and you're dropping every payload that you got on the battlefield and it's 4 of you, there is nothing like this game. This game is just absolutely a phenomenon. I'm so happy for Arrowhead Studios. I'm so happy for Sony and PlayStation, because they're going to see the success you have when you drop games day and date on PC. Not everybody pirates games. Not everybody refuses to pay full price, especially when you fairly price your games as they did with this one.
This one, what, $39.99?
Yep. This one's $39.99. Right? Yep. This one's got legs. They need to increase the servers. Sony, stop being cheap with your server money. Get these guys the servers that they need. This should have already hit 500,000 concurrent players, but they keep having server cap issues. Give them all the freaking servers you got in Jim's closet and let them hit that 500,000 cap. Do it, please, because this, you need to jump on the success, but they are already doing things with the community goals that they set up. Arrowhead understands what it takes to build the games as a service. They understand what it is to create a community within your game already. Hats off to Arrowhead. They came back around. A lot of people didn't know who these people were because they didn't play the original, but man, now they know. And just because they haven't made a whole lot of games before doesn't mean they haven't been sitting back and learning and watching what's going on in the industry, because they're nailing this very well.
It gave me that Lost Planet vibe, man.
Bro, a lot of it is Lost Planet vibes. A lot of it is
obviously Starship Trooper too, but the Lost Planet,
they lean into so much. Yeah, Star Wars. We got Star Wars references in here. You got so much stuff. But again, watch the videos of the. Watch the videos of the battlefield when there's 4 people, especially if they know what they're doing, dropping payloads from orbital strikes all over the battlefield. The particle effects, the lighting. There's a planet. People don't even realize this. This is the level of detail. I'm sorry, I'm going on. I don't care. I love this game. There's a planet that we dropped into. It started at just about, probably would say just about like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. What you think of that kind of lighting? It went from that to sunset to complete darkness where we could barely see without our flashlights at all. Even flashlights didn't help, and we had bugs closing in on us all the time. And then suddenly this giant Jupiter-like planet rises up over the horizon like a giant moon. And we went from like an orange kind of glow, sunset kind of glow, to a blue nighttime, to a darkness. And then this Jupiter planet's got a green glow to it and changes the whole environment to this green nighttime look to it. Phenomenal work, Arrowhead. You guys created an atmosphere that I can live in. Again, doesn't take itself seriously at all, leans into what it is, but pure unadulterated fun at the end of the day. Sorry, I took way too much time for my intro, but I love Helldivers too.
Nah, shout out to everybody in chat. And yeah, you're right. I'm hearing great things. I actually, prior to the show, quiet as kept. Full transparency here. I was watching streamers, just live streams of Helldivers 2. So I don't have a
Yeah.
PC. I don't have PS5 as well. So obviously I won't get that experience, but it does look extremely exciting, rewarding. I'm glad to hear you guys are enjoying it. We play games over here. That's what we're all about.
Yep.
So that does not change at the Shop Podcast. That's what you're going to get first and foremost. So shout out to everybody watching live here at the Shop Podcast. Once again, retweet that link. Let everybody know we're here live doing the damn thing. Once again, our guests will be falling through more than likely, maybe a little bit late. I may send out a few additional links, maybe to get some additional people in here. You never know. So hit me up in chat too. Drop me a line there too. You never know. So appreciate you guys.
Fuzzy, tell them how many Bile Titans did we have to take on in that one level? You were rocking with us when we had to take on what do we have? Six Bile. Yeah. Our goal was to go 2 different spots, kill 2 Bile Titans. We killed the first one, cool. We go to the second one, he's got a buddy with him. We kill both of them. It takes 10-15 minutes. 4 more show up. Bile Titans. If you guys know what these things are like 60-foot, 80-foot high bile spitting monsters that came over, and we were only supposed to defeat 2 of them, and we wound up killing a total of 7. Like, it was insane. Sorry, I love it.
No, you're good, man. No, once again, that's
something else to add to about that game. Like they I don't know if people know this, but the actual team, there's like a team of humans that work at the studio, as well as they have kind of like a script that runs in the background sometimes. They'll watch your game kind of like what do you call it? Like for Dungeons and Dragons. I forget, like a
DM, Dungeon Master.
Yeah, like a Dungeon Master. And on occasion, they'll drop you do special drops like that rocket launcher that nobody brought to the planet. They'll drop that sometimes. Now, sometimes it might land on your head, but they'll drop that, or they'll have it where they see that you're clearing out enemies too well.
Yeah,
they'll be like, all right, we're going to surprise them. They're going to the extraction. We're going to have something waiting at the extraction for them. So they can kind of mess around with the game to add even more interest to it. So I've been noticing some weird things. Like I wondered why there were like certain weapons sometimes on like certain areas that nobody had like the requisite for. But now I know they are the ones that can kind of intervene sometimes. So it's kind of cool how they do it. They don't do it to kind of mess with your game completely, but it adds a little bit more excitement to it and stuff like that. And you usually get some decent rewards. So if you also find that there's some extra crafting materials, it's probably because they saw all the stuff that you guys went through type of thing as well.
That's cool as hell. I never knew that. That's awesome.
Yeah. But man, oh man. Oh, I'll just get right into the games I've been playing. I've been playing Helldivers, although not as much recently, only because of the servers. I didn't get a spot early enough in the day and stay on there, but they're gonna have to figure out something with the people that might be just squatting spots and stuff. But the game is fun. If you have access to PC or PS5, it's well worth the $40 for the game. Another game that I played for a little bit was Potato.
I'm having a lot of fun with that, man. The Potato game was really fun, man.
Yeah. And it's the funny thing about it is, like, at first I was like, oh, this doesn't seem all that great as far as the weaponry. I'm like, when are they going to give me some better weapons? Then I realized, just combine the weapons. That's what levels them up. Yeah. So if you have like 2 purples, or if you have like 2 plain ones and they're the exact style weapon, just merge them. And it will create a whole bunch of extra craziness, and then whatever effects you can put on there and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. But what do you call it? Undisputed finally did their career mode and character creator update. Now the character creator update, the character creators is pretty decent, although they can add a few things as far as like putting your name on your trunks or something like that. But overall, it's pretty complete. The career mode, haven't dived into that yet, but liking a lot of the stuff that they've done. They've added like a flat foot type of deal where if you gas yourself out, you're not going to be as quick as you once were, kind of thing. Before, the stamina didn't seem like it was quite balanced, but now if you punch yourself out, you're going to be a sitting target or sitting duck at that point. But definitely keep an eye out for that, because I figure maybe by the end of the year they'll had the or at least the mention for consoles will be made and stuff like that, and they'll probably have their full release by spring or summer or something like that. But other than that, been playing a lot of Forza. They just added the Nürburgring, the full. I can't even pronounce it, but they added the full ring as far as the that part of the track to the GP circuit. So
Looks gorgeous,
well,
by the way.
yeah. And the funny thing is, as much as I've played it previously on Motorsport 7, and as much as I've played it on GT7, I actually like a lot of the things that they've done. Now, I know what's his name from Digital Foundry went over like the detail comparing things and stuff like that without these tracks in particular, but I like how, like, even though the trees aren't exact on Motorsport, but I like how they lay out the landscape and cover certain areas that you don't necessarily need to see off in the distance and things like that. It looks like it's a little bit more filled in, but I like how they have the rumble strips, and just the track itself feels a lot more balanced. So you can whip through that track a lot better than you probably could with Motorsport 7. And I have a much easier time without having like driving aids and things like that on, getting through that track with Motorsport compared to GT7. I haven't done an exact type of car comparison for times, but I'll probably be doing that here soon. But overall, it just feels a little bit quicker with Motorsport. Just the curbing and all that, the way everything is balanced, the car mechanics and things like that makes it feel a good bit better, at least to me. But outside of that, I think that's pretty much it. I've been playing about the same games over and over again. A little bit of Sifu in there as well, because I bought that on PC, and I just like messing around, throwing people off the rooftop. And then there's like a couple of these arena things where you just have to stand in this square or rectangle and defend yourself and try to not go down the for like a 2 minute counter type of thing. So just having a lot of fun with that. But man, oh man, Twitter has been a, I guess I wouldn't say a dumpster fire, but it's definitely kind of like a forest fire out there. I don't understand it, why people are attacking each other now. It's like, the ones that were wrong or right or whatever on, the rumors and stuff.
Hmm.
It is what it is. Move along at this point, but some people are going at each other's throats over it stuff. So it's some of it's entertaining, some of it's a little unnerving, but other than that, just glad to be here with you guys. Missed being on the show last week.
Yeah.
Um, and so much stuff has happened. We had, well, Xbox had their business update podcast. I'm pretty sure
We
we're
gonna
going
get
to definitely get into
yeah.
that. But man, glad to be here with you guys. Thanks to everybody in the chat for being here. Man, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. And once again, man, Chad, I appreciate all you guys hanging out with us tonight. I know things have been a bit shaky. I haven't been as vocal online as I've been lately, but I'm gonna get back to it, man. But I appreciate everybody hanging out with us tonight. So yeah, as Fuzzy said, let's get into it, man. As we await our guests to come through, or any other guests that we might have come through as well. We jumping right off the porch, and we are talking about this Xbox business update. Now, I haven't been vocal about this a whole lot. I made some posts online after the business update, after kind of letting everything marinate, man. It's just been kind of crazy. Like, I just been kind of sitting back, letting everything happen, and just kind of formulating my own opinions, the kind of thing that I always do. But just kind of the information that we got out of the show, I kind of want everybody's opinion now that the show is kind of marinated. Everybody sat around, thought about the opinions, versus what we saw versus what the rumblings and opinions were around the community. It was crazy. And you talked about it, Pong. Obviously, FSP was last night. Shout out to Mav. Hopefully he drops in here tonight. But you guys got into that heavy, Pong. So I guess we'll start with you on this one, brother. You are extremely vocal about Xbox. You always have been, always will be. You're not one to shy away from any one of that. So you're one of the people that have always been that way. So I trust you, because you've always stood on one side, and you never really wavered in that opinion. So seeing where things are at with the Xbox community after this business update, kind of where is your opinion, kind of on the future?
The evolution began a long time ago, and it's continuing forward. They are doing what is necessary, they believe, to get to the future that we've talked about plenty of times here on the Shop Podcast and everywhere else over the last 2 to 3 years. This is nothing new. They've cracked the door for games going multi-plat. I don't think they're going to close that door. I know this is a test run of 4 games, but there will be more in the future. This could be a yearly occurrence. So for those of you who think that this was 4 only and it's done and over with and everything's the same as it always has been and they're going to compete the same way they always have and we're back to normal, square one. If you lost your mind, you might lose your mind again. And again and again as they do this, because this is a part of the plan. I don't have an issue with it from a business standpoint, and because I can look at the bigger picture and see what they're trying to do here. Now, personally, again, I will say it for everybody in the back. If this was me, hell no, you are not getting any exclusives. Me and Fuzzy agree on this. Like, this is the old head in me that wants to fight till the bitter end. I said on multiple shows now, you will have to bring my console presence down to 0 before I will wave the white flag. You will not get an exclusive from me until that point. But that's not what they're going to do. They are going to do what is necessary to continue to grow Xbox to reach 2 billion, 3 billion people. And that means putting their games on more screens. Does that mean that they're going to flip the switch, shut down the hardware, cancel Game Pass, and just go full third-party game publisher? No, of course not. None of us here ever thought that, even when the rumors were flying. This is going to be a slow rollout. And I believe after the business update event that they slowed things down a little bit, because I do believe most of the rumors. I do believe there was credible sources. I do believe the discussions were on the table for all the games that have been brought up outside of the gear stuff. But again, I lean towards Grub being real. So, but it doesn't matter to me about any of that stuff. Even when all that was going on, I never wavered that they would have another console again. I never wavered on that. They're not going away. They're not just going to shutter the doors. They're not going to change their name to Microsoft Gaming right now. They're not going to do any of that stuff. Is it all possible? Of course it is. This is business at the end of the day. This is a $3 trillion company that that is the parent of a $1 billion company underneath them. Anything can happen in that field, but the business update event itself did exactly what it needed to do. They weren't ever going to be 100% transparent. This is still the corporate world. They can't tell you all the secrets. They're not going to sit down and have just a live chat and Phil's just going to go off the handle and tell you everything that's going on. It is going to be layered upon layer of PR speak, of very general kind of observations and talking points and all that kind of stuff. However, the way that they did this, the words that they used, and the doubling down on the core philosophy of Xbox throughout the business update event could not have been done better, in my opinion. I came away from this going, cool. They are in it for the long haul as an Xbox brand. Now, we can argue whether or not they're damaging their brand if they put their games elsewhere. That's a discussion that's open. They believe they're not. They believe the philosophy, Phil said it specifically, that they can entice people to perhaps look at the Xbox ecosystem by putting some games elsewhere on the rival consoles, because they're already going everywhere else. They're going mobile. They're already on PC. They're everywhere else. So the two consoles, the Switch and the PlayStation, are the last places that they don't have a presence in. And so they're going to try it. They're going to experiment. They're going to put some games over there and see what happens, and maybe get some people's eyes over back onto Xbox again, because there are a lot of PlayStation only fans. There are a lot of Nintendo only fans. There are a lot of people who own a Nintendo and a PlayStation but don't own an Xbox or a PC. So they're going to try to grab some of that audience. Meanwhile, they're also going to try to give, at least for these 4 games as Phil laid out, a chance to grow their own IP, right? That's what he said this was about, because he wants to see this IP, these 4 specifically, have a chance to, for the 2 that are games as a service, continue to grow the community, to bring in more money, because he specifically said this is really about business, so that they can potentially continue to support those games, and maybe bring sequels down the road or expand the IP. And for the two smaller games, like he stated, don't necessarily agree with this, but he stated that they looked at the two smaller games, which again, consensus is Hi-Fi Rush and Pentiment. Those games were never meant to be exclusive. Those weren't drivers of an ecosystem, right? So those were meant to be games that were played everywhere. And so he's allowing that to happen because they, again, need to have support so that they can go ahead and potentially make sequels or make another project from those teams that did those passion projects, whatever the case may be. He explained that very well. So I'm cool with all of that. They're going to do what they're going to do. Again, personally, I wouldn't be doing it, but I understand the point. Then you got Matt Booty. Matt Booty is getting better and better in front of the camera. Let me just say this. First of all, I'm going to do this every show that I'm on. Tina Amini, one of the best hires they've had.
Yeah, she's really good, man.
She is a rock star. Yeah. She is a wizard. She knows what she's doing. She is now handling the entire showcase. I don't know if you caught that, PTK. Yeah. That's how well she's done, because she and the team that she built around her made the directs. And then we all love the directs, and we know how good the directs have been received. So she's doing that. She's going to do their showcase, and then she gets on a stage and puts on a great interview. Like this girl, this lady. On
point.
Listen, I love her. I think she's awesome. So, but I think that Phil, Sarah, and Booty, and like I just said, Booty has gotten so much more comfortable in front of the camera, and he has to, because of his position now. If they're going to continue to be this type of company that speaks out, he's going to have to, but he is getting better. But I thought each one of them brought great voices. So Phil did his thing from the business side, talked about Xbox. They mentioned Xbox 1 billion times. So again, reinforcing the idea, no name change. They're not giving up the brand. Xbox is here to stay. Did a great job. Talked about the health of the industry, talked about the health of the brand. Like, he went through all of the business side of stuff, the big picture stuff, because that's his job. Then Booty jumped in with the studio side, and he was the first to reconfirm and double down Game Pass not going away, not changing, games day and date, right? That's their plan. That's what they're going to do.
I love that.
Right out the gate, right? And then he went into explaining how it used to be that the platforms were the big deal, the consoles were the big deal, and the games were, kind of fit inside that console. But he explained how they view things now with things like Minecraft and Call of Duty and Roblox, and I'm sure Fortnite and all that kind of stuff, that there are games now that are bigger than any individual console, right? There are games now that are bigger than that, and they want that, right? They want that. They understand that, and that's why they're expanding out further and further their reach. So he explained all of that. Fantastic. Then we get to Sarah Bond. Sarah Bond is phenomenal. Again, some people don't like her. Cool. That's fine. It's a personal taste thing. That's cool. She is an amazing speaker. She is very technical when she speaks, but she gets it across in a very general fashion. She speaks to people who would not understand maybe potentially higher level stuff. She breaks it down beautifully. It can sound scripted to people, but she is an effective speaker, and I love listening to her talk. I think she does a very nice job. She brought that presence on the stage when she took over her side of things, which is, once again, the hardware. Now, she is CEO of Xbox, and she's got the whole hardware division underneath her. So she then doubles down, PTK, on hardware. And I would actually say, from her words, and again, if you guys don't want to hear this, if you say this is all BS corporate PR speak, that is fine with me. I still get excited and allow myself to get excited when they talk this way. She comes out and triples down on the hardware by saying that they are going with the next console, the future. Well, first of all, let me say that she dropped a little bomb, by the way, that they're going to have, well, there's two bombs here. She dropped a little bomb that they're going to have a new console and controller announcements come this holiday. So she did give up a little bit. And then she also went with Booty's comments about Game Pass, reiterated that, and reiterated the fact that ABK is going to be day and date, and said, let me prove it to you, and gave us a little piece of candy that I said they should. Now, I said maybe they would do the backwards compatibility, kind of give us a roadmap.
The Call of Duty stuff first?
Yeah, maybe something like that. No. They go to one of the games that a lot of economic experts who look down upon the rest of us who speak economics and talk big business because we don't know what we're talking about out here. A lot of those people said this was one of those games that they didn't think they could afford to put in the Game Pass. Well, Sarah Bond says, I'm pleased to announce that on March 28th, Diablo 4 is coming to Game Pass. Ah, beautiful. I love it. But when she got to the hardware part, she talked about the holiday. They're going to have some news there. But then she said, as we look to the next gen, she said, we are unleashing our engineers' creativity. Our R&D is obviously going to be massive because we are going to attempt to give you the biggest technological leap of any generation with the next set of hardware. Yo, when she said that, first of all, I said, God damn. All right, Sarah, love it. Love the effort. And then I start thinking, and I'm like, 40 years of gaming, PTK. We've seen a lot of generations here, brother. We've seen a lot of massive leaps.
What does that mean, right?
That's what I'm saying. And so for the people saying, yeah, that's corporate speak, that's PR speak, she's bullshitting you. She's just throwing out big things to get everybody excited. Okay, but they are obviously shooting for the moon. They are obviously thinking that they are doing something different here, potentially outside of what the standard old kind of console business that we grew up on. They are maybe breaking away from that. And so we might get some technological leaps that we didn't think we needed, wanted, or even knew about if they decide to break away, if they decide to do things different. And we've heard the smoke, right? There's 2 to 3 SKUs this time around. A box, a handheld, and potentially, obviously, the puck or the stick or the cloud, whatever you want to call it. There's potentially 3 SKUs here. If some of that's true, then they could do a lot of creative things, and that might actually get them to that goal that she stated they're going for. We will have to wait and see. But even if they don't get there, the fact that they tripled down on the hardware and said, we aren't going anywhere. We aren't going anywhere.
Very clear about that too.
Exactly. And Phil also reconfirmed digital libraries going forward will be backwards compatible. You will bring your libraries forward with you. We will make sure of that because one of the cores they all touched on, cross-save, cross-play, progression, right? Cross-buy. They hit those key points over and over again. All of this, PTK, was to reassure not the people that already jumped the ship, not the people that already burnt their Series X's and sold them and said, I'm never touching another Xbox product again. Not those people. Forget those people. Those people left way too early. Those people are gone. It's the people that had some questions, that were on the fence, that kind of were frustrated or maybe a little lost with what they were trying to do here. They reiterated for all those people. And then they also answered the question that people always say, if Xbox is going this route, why would you ever buy an Xbox? They hit on all the points of why you still buy an Xbox, why you still commit to this ecosystem, because there are advantages with Game Pass, with cross-save, cross-progression, all the stuff that comes built in that we over here that play in the ecosystem on a regular basis just take for granted, but it's not elsewhere. In fact, Phil took a shot and told everybody that it's not elsewhere again. He loves doing that. He took a little dig at everybody else and said, I wish others would do this stuff. Right? So they did all of that. They laid it out perfectly. Each one of them took their focus within Xbox, right? Their teams that they are in control of and hit on all the points, but all the points lined up to build the reasons out why Xbox is here to stay, why it's going to continue to grow, why they are making it healthy, and why people should continue to invest and have confidence in the Xbox brand. It's up to you to decide if they did enough. It's up to you to decide whether or not you continue forward with Xbox. That will always be your choice. But for me, as somebody who is now playing more and more on his PC, but also continues to love the console side of things and will always love the console side of things, if they come out with compelling hardware next generation, I'm back in. I'll make it happen, even if they go the expensive route, which maybe we'll talk about later. If they break away and they do the enthusiast kind of console that is high end, that is premium, that might not be because they don't care about the console business like they used to, because again, they're not worried about that space anymore. They still, Phil said it again, it still will be the best place for you to experience your Xbox games on, but they're not worried per se of trying to outsell Sony. They're not worried about that anymore. So if they break away and make a premium box that does cost, time and a half, 2 times what we're currently paying, if they make that compelling, I'll be back again, because they definitely explained that they are here to stay for the foreseeable future. Now, things will continue to change. Things will continue to evolve. Phil said 5 to 10 years from now, exclusives are not going to be as important. Maybe we get to a timed exclusive kind of deal with first-party stuff. I don't care what they choose to do. At the end of the day, you're giving me games. You're giving me an ecosystem that is budget-friendly for me, that makes a lot of sense for how I graze on a ton of different games. You continue to bring me value because, again, I'm not loyal just to be loyal. I'm loyal because of my pocketbook, and I'm loyal because of the games that you give me. You continue to do that, and it sounds like they're going to do that, and maybe even a little bit more. I'm back again, PTK. They did exactly what they needed to do. They came out with confidence and crushed this business update event. And for all you fools out there, my last point, for all you fools out there who tried to sit here and go, "What? This didn't need a podcast. You could just put this in Xbox Wire blog post. Why did you have to do all this? This was stupid. It's not even really a podcast." Screw off, all of you. If they had done that, you guys would have been the first ones to say, "Oh, look, they're cowards. They couldn't face their community after all the backlash. They had to do it in a blog post." I already see you. Get out of here. This is how Xbox has done things. It's a double-edged sword, but they have created this because Phil wanted it this way. They want to be face forward with the community. They continued that with this presentation here, and it worked. It worked in spades. A lot of people walked away from this saying, "Okay, get it. Cool. All right." That's what you needed out of this as your community was melting down around you. They did it great. I love this business update event.
Tough position to be in, man. Tough position to be in, man.
Mav and I said they should do one every year. And I said quarterly. I said they should do one just to piss people off after every investor call. After every investor call, give us another one of these.
What the hell? Yeah, I know, right? But no, once again, it's a precarious position to be in. I would not want to be in Phil's spot. I don't think any of us would be envy of having to be Phil Spencer, Matt Booty, or Sarah Bond at this point in time right now. You know what I mean? That's a tough spot, but I think they navigated it beautifully, just in my opinion. You know what I mean? We always scrutinize them for the things that they don't do, but you got to see the growth, man. You got to see the growth, because a lot of people ran with some things that weren't 100% accurate. Now, did these things change because of those? We might never know if the script was changed at the last minute, Pong, but that doesn't matter. All that matters is the information that we got was clear, correct, concise. It was from the people that we wanted it to be from. Yeah. We didn't want to see Microsoft executives up there. We needed to see Phil, Sarah, Matt, people up there that we knew were front facing. That's what we saw. It was very clear. I like the fact that you pointed out each one of them kind of ran point for their particular position, correct, within the company and what they were in control of, rather than trying to speak over things that they don't really control, because that's what we don't want. I don't want Phil talking about stuff that he can't do, or I don't want Matt talking about stuff he can't do, neither or Sarah. I want them talking about things that are within their control, things that are very clear to us that make sense. So I understand we're not all gonna like the business model. Things change, man, and whether or not this is right going forward, they're generally the first people over the hill when these things happen. Look at the history of Xbox, man. The Ethernet port was pretty risky, Paul.
It was. They've always innovated on that side.
Maybe that didn't work.
But it pushed the industry forward.
Exactly.
PTK,
you know what I mean? I'm not trying to advocate for everything that's going on, because I know people don't understand. Like, I don't like it. I get it. We don't have to like it. And I'm not trying to compare it to that either. Because that's a different situation. All I'm saying is that sometimes you got to let these things mature. You know what I mean? You got to allow these things to develop, because they are by and large in the best position they've been in a very long time. I don't think that's
bigger.
changed.
They're bigger than anything right now. Phil even pointed that out, something that we've expressed here. When you really think about it, they're already one of the world's largest third-party publishers, right? They're one of the world's largest first-party publishers on top of it. Like, they already are bigger, so much bigger than they ever were before. And they're going to continue to deliver freaking amazing games. The day I show up on this show and say I'm not playing Elder Scrolls 6 because they're going to put it over on PlayStation and the Switch 2, please lock me up. My priority is game playing. I want competition. I want that competition. I want somebody around to keep Sony at least a little honest. So from that standpoint, I don't want them to go full third party and give up on hardware ever. I want them to be in this in some way or shape or form. But at the end of the day, if games like that start going elsewhere,
agile, man.
Bro, I'm a gamer through and through. Again, I learned my lesson with the Sega Dreamcast, and I will carry that forward for the rest of my life. I'll be here playing games, everybody. So if you guys want to come talk games, I'll still be here.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what we do. Let's get to our guest, man. Shout out to Matt for sliding in here. We ain't even got to. We 40 minutes into the show already. What's up, brother? How you doing? Glad for you to slide in here.
Yeah, sorry, I was running late. Got
good,
caught
brother.
up being out, but made it here in time to have some fun and listen to Pong do his thing about the BUE 2024. Yeah, man. But how's it going, guys?
We're good, man. No, go ahead. Jump off the porch, man. You might as well get into it, brother. We already in the thick of it, man.
Yeah,
where
dude,
you at on all of this, man?
You know,
Mr. FSP.
I came from a unique position, I think, a little bit looking forward to this because I never cared about what the official decision was actually going to be, like as far as a consumer, as far as like it affecting my experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but watching the community kind of burn down, that's what was bothering me. You know what I mean? Like, because I saw all this stuff going on, I see the chaos, and for me, I'm thinking like, okay, this is more damaging to potentially what some of these rumors were even about, or you know what I mean? Depending,
100%.
depending on what happens. And you know, I was ultimately afterwards, I was happy to see that it was like the lesser of all the evils, just for the for the sanity of the community, because I didn't want to see everything that could happen and snowball out of control even more than it had gone. Right. So that was my kind of relief a little bit, you know.
And once again, people got to understand this is from our perspective too. We're a bit closer, you know what I mean, in the you know what I mean. Like we're, you know, a lot of people in the community. So you know, this is from our perspective too, because you know the community is a big thing for us, especially Mav being content creators, and it does stink. And I think for me personally as well, I agree, and I echo that same sentiment. That was probably the worst part of it all.
Yeah.
Regardless of like the actual outcome or information, because we talked about this, and I'll peel back the curtain a little bit. You know, we do a lot of talking in the DMs and things, Pong Mav, and we talked about sometimes, and you just reiterated this point, that the energy is worse than like the actual result, right? Sometimes it's more damaging, and it can be weird. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what we saw, you know, before.
Exactly.
Like in, you know, like even from the outside looking at, I was always been a big Xbox scammer ever since the original Xbox, right? But like, didn't have a channel until like 3.5 years ago or whatever. But before that, you know, back in 2013, I kind of watched that whole scenario kind of snowball out of control, and a lot of it was Xbox's fault for not having good messaging and clear answers and all that stuff. But
bang, non-metric.
You see how much of an impact that can kind of have, you know what I mean, on something that you love. And that for me is like seeming like when Xbox lost that cool card and lost that respect and lost all of those kind of things at that time, like that affected the Xbox One generation more than some of their own internal decisions did at the time, because then nobody bought Xboxes, right?
Yep.
And like if everybody was at the time was like, oh, cool, I'm happy with this or whatever, I love it, and everybody went and bought Xboxes because that's what they wanted, then at that time, what would the present market be? What would the situation be? I don't know, but you know, the consumer speaks, right? And they have a lot of push and pull when it comes to what happens to big companies. And when I saw everything going on the last couple weeks, my thing is like, oh, this is 2013 all over again. Holy crap. You know what I mean? Like, what's gonna happen here? Like Xbox, you got to say something, you got to do something.
Yeah.
And it seemed like just people started jumping off ledges just based on rumors and stuff. And things kept snowballing. People were engagement farming all this stuff, and then at the end of the day, we're still waiting on answers. We finally got the answers, right? And the answers I feel like were probably more in line, most likely, with what was the reality all along, right? But I don't know 100%,
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
hard to say.
And the thing is, none of us ever will
Yeah, we
now.
won't. We won't.
But there was definitely smoke there with some of the stuff, and it ended up turning out to be what we heard. And like, if they had had the chance to do the messaging in the first place, if this is what it was, would there have been that much chaos? Who knows? Would it be even worse? Because now everybody's like not as let down. You know what I mean? Because it's not Starfield right now. It's not Indiana Jones right now. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, everybody's accepting the fact that it's 4 games, right? But it's not the games. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's interesting to see everything that's been going on. For me, I kind of like had lost a lot. I might have changed this whole thing. This whole scenario changed my viewpoint on some of the people out there. Just kind of like, not to say that they're necessarily doing anything wrong or that they're trying to do things wrong or anything like that, but it's just not necessarily some of the people aren't who I thought they were, right? At the end of the day, or they don't maybe stand for what I thought they did or believe in the same things that I maybe had thought they did before. But now we finally got the answers, right? And it comes down to the answers that they delivered. And even though I don't necessarily think business wise, it's the best decision to do what they're doing, like I wouldn't do it because I'm kind of with Pong about like, okay, if I think they're leaving potential growth in the console market on the table with everything that they have. If they put that question into everybody's minds about which games are going to be coming to other platforms in the future, right? That's going to be into people's minds. You even see it with like people making questions now. Are you going to rule out Starfield? Are you going to rule out Indiana Jones? And it's like these questions are always going to persist now, right? So by them not just saying no, nothing, you know what I mean? It's always going to persist. And I feel like that is them leaving console growth in the market on the table that they could have had otherwise. And I'm not saying they would ever completely take over, but I think that they could have made a lot more strides than they believe internally with everything that they have. But as a consumer, I don't really care. All that I want is a guarantee that we're getting good hardware in the future because it's where I like to play, right?
Yeah.
I never played on Xbox before because a different platform doesn't have the game, right? Well, maybe when Halo originally launched. I mean, that was when you first got into it, the original Xbox with Halo. That's what got me in there. But after that, I was like, oh, I love this. I love this ecosystem. I love everything they're doing. I loved Xbox Live. I loved everything. And I've been sold on it ever since because it's just my favorite place to play. You know what I mean?
Same.
So it's not because, you know, this game is only here that I choose to play on an Xbox.
I mean,
console,
that does help,
you know?
In certain situations, right?
For
In
some
certain
people,
circumstances,
for
it does
sure.
help. Yeah.
Right. And it's gonna, and that's
be
why
part of the decision.
that's why I think business wise, it's a bad decision because they're leaving that potential growth on the market for people that aren't already invested in the ecosystem or already love that the ecosystem, right? And then maybe they can still make strides, but ultimately, as a consumer, I just want to know I'm going to be able to keep playing my games and have great hardware in the future, and that's all I cared about. And that's why,
clear.
and that's why I didn't care about that before. And I felt like ultimately, and we talked about this a couple times, that was the most important messages that I thought they had to deliver at whatever they said. Because the underlying issue, this thing we kept hearing everybody in the community say was like, well, you know, they're going to get into getting out of the hardware space because nobody's going to want an Xbox. So then third parties are going to stop making games for it. And then it's going to even hurt the market even more. And they're just going to, you know, not even care to make one. And then they said like, well, and then what happens to our digital library and all this kind of stuff. And I've been saying the whole time, like, it's such a far worst case scenario reach that everybody's just jumping to based on some rumors. And if you just look at the common sense aspect of everything, there's no reason for them to not make hardware. There's no reason for them to let it affect their digital ecosystem and their storefronts and everything. So I felt like the messaging needed to be really good with hardware. and the digital ecosystem in your library and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they delivered that super strong. And that I saw kind of energize the community more than I think anything else, because yeah, it's like, oh, only 4 games, or like whatever. You know, I hear a lot of that too. But like for me, it's the hardware and reinvesting and doubling down on everything. And then also the other big, huge thing that was a big question mark that a lot of us had, and we did not know if we were going to get answers on this at this thing. But the ABK games are going to be in Game Pass, and they're going to be in there day and date, and they're going to start rolling them out this March, right? With one of the biggest ones with Diablo.
That was big.
That answered a lot of questions. And if you thought they were in trouble and all these rumors going around, people saying Game Pass isn't working, they're going to have to stop it in order to, you know, keep going. And they're going to have to get rid of day and date across the board. Oh, maybe we should do that instead of giving exclusives away, and all these conversations that started happening, and all these rumors about all this other stuff. And like Pong said, like the Microsoft Gaming, they're getting rid of the Xbox name. People are even saying, oh, no, when we hear it's not going to be from Phil Spencer or Sarah Bond or Matt Booty, it's going to be from like Satya and Tim Stewart and stuff like that, because Microsoft controls everything now. It's no longer Xbox. They're not running the ship, you know. And what do we see? We see United Front, Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, Matt Booty delivering the promises of what makes the ecosystem special, their commitment to making hardware going forward, and also to Game Pass. Checkmate across the board for me. I don't care if somebody else in another system gets to play a game. I never have, right? But for me, this was awesome because it had all the things that I personally care about, you know? So, and I thought they did ultimately good jobs. Very corporate PR stuff, right? I didn't care about the format. Like, it was a question I've always had, like, what kind of format are they going to do for something like this, right? Thought it worked out perfectly. Even though there's scripted questions and scripted answers, they had to do what they had to do to get across this message. And they were kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place because a lot of this stuff was going on, and they know that they have these announcements coming up. So to deliver it in the way that they did, I felt like was the right move, and I felt like it re-energized a lot of people. Some people also aren't going to be happy because, you know, obviously they're still putting games on other platforms, and people are still gonna not like that, you know. But at the end of the day, can I play on my Xbox? Yes. Am I going to have a new one to buy, and maybe even possible a way better one than I ever thought before? Yes. And I'm also going to get all the ABK games and Game Pass, which is what I wanted when we found out they were acquiring ABK from the first place. So I'm happy, man. Super happy.
Sweet. Great breakdown. I agree with a lot of that stuff. We're going to get into some of the more particular stuff. I want to get into some of that Sarah Bond stuff too, because some of what she talked about as far as hardware, like you said, you highlighted in chat. I want to know what you guys think about the Sarah Bond stuff specifically too, about her highlighting future hardware, maybe, you know, this winter, you know, maybe handheld type stuff, you know, all kind of little juicy stuff there that we can kind of get from what some of the things that she said. But let's get to Fuzz on this one and get your opinion, Fuzz. Obviously, this was a big deal. You know, there's no way, you know, based on everything that happened, there was almost no way that they could come out of this looking as good as they did, and they actually did. Like, this is a way better result than I actually anticipated, Fuzz, right? So now we weren't any, you know, I don't think any of us were necessarily jumping off the porch about what the results would be, to be fair, Fuzz. But at the end of the day, I think all, you know, by and large, they really answered a lot of questions in the way that they needed to. The format was great. It didn't drag out too long. I understand the whole corporate stuff. People don't necessarily like that, but we're living in reality here, people. You know, there's things you can and can't say. You know, there's deals that are currently active, the deals that are coming up. You can't really spoil the beans too early. You know, you can say in certain things, you might not be able to say other things. So, you know, we all got to understand that and be within reason. But Fuzz, where you at on this, man?
Well, I went into this event with basically two questions that needed to be answered. One was answered in a way I didn't like, but I'll get into that at the later half. But the main one was about Game Pass. Were there going to be any changes to Game Pass? You know, there were some rumors swirling around about it. There was always this question as far as like the Activision games, are they going to be day and date? being under, Microsoft Gaming instead of under Xbox kind of thing. Would that change anything? And between Sarah Bond and Matt Booty, they put that to rest as far as for me. With ABK Games going in there day one, starting, after Diablo goes in March. And, part of that, the reason why there's going to be a delay, I guess, on some of the earlier titles is because they're not in the Microsoft store now. So to continue with that dual entitlement, which I'm glad they talked about that. And I, just like Phil, I wish other platforms did that same thing, where you would, buy it once and have basically two licenses, one on console and one on PC. But, that was the biggest thing, because that's I guess the anchor for me to the Xbox platform at this point. I just wanted to make sure that there weren't going to be any changes, and, fingers crossed we don't see any, price hikes anytime soon. I think that was the biggest thing going in there. Now they're not going to talk about price hikes or anything of that nature. And, if and when they come, so be it, type of deal. But the biggest thing was ABK goes in there day and date. So that way, if there was any gray area, if there were any contractual obligations that they still had to meet, that would have been the perfect opportunity to bring it up with this Call of Duty that's coming out this fall. So the way they phrased everything, that puts that thought to rest. Now, the other question was, what were the games? How many? What's the cadence like as far as games going over to other platforms? And I already made a conscious decision prior that if any games go, I'm done buying third party on Xbox. And unfortunately, that turned out to be the case. For me, it's not as much about, not wanting others on another platform to play it, but just in the history of gaming, whenever something like this changes, you see a dwindling or some sort of reduction, for going forward. Now they can make all the consoles that they want, but will people buy them is a whole nother animal. And I'm not here to get into all of that stuff, but for me, it's great hearing that they do have, some hardware for this holiday, and that they're going to have the biggest, generational leap or technological leap in this next console. Now, what that will entail, we shall see. What I'm seeing on from the PC side of things, unless this thing is going to be 700 plus, I can't imagine what that would be outside of having like a some sort of like AI based chip type of thing, and what that would entail, what that would take care of as far as whether it's offloading some of the workload from the CPU or even the GPU in like a DLSS kind of fashion. That should be, pretty neat tech, but we'll see what the pricing is when we cross that bridge kind of deal. But hearing that they do have those plans in advance, including what is more than likely going to be like a Series 3, let's say, Elite controller, which right now the rubber grips are coming off of my Series 2, and this is my second Series 2, so perfect timing, I guess, would it come in this holiday. But hearing that they are still committed to that is great. But what is not great for me is that instead of it being like the original rumored one title or maybe possibly two, it's four. And I know that's not going to be the end of it unless, nobody on PlayStation and Nintendo buys any of the games, which I doubt that will be the case. And even if they didn't buy any of the games, I would assume that there's probably going to be another 2 to 4 games that would be the finale of the test to see if it was just those particular games that nobody was interested in. And then they would probably, throw over, 2 to 4 more to test things out, to get a feel for, or well, maybe this style of game is better suited over there. Mm-hmm. But in that instance, for me, since I'm, currently, able to have, console and PC, I'm just going to lean more into PC. Now, I'm not getting rid of my Xbox. I will still keep my Xbox, and I'll still keep my Game Pass subscription. I actually already have it all the way, through until March of 26, and I have enough rewards points that'll get me covered up to probably 28. But for the most part, all third parties for me right now are going to be purchased through Steam. That's just a matter of I don't want to continue putting into a ecosystem that I feel is not up to par with the transition that they're heading for. Now, eventually they can rival Steam down the road, but they're far from it right now. And I don't see them putting in as much effort or energy to get that up to par to make it worthwhile outside of their first party with dual entitlement. Now, if they miraculously had dual entitlement for third party, which part of what Sarah Bond had made mention with the Play Anywhere, with your entire library, and she didn't clarify saying first party library. If they do come around and make a change where third party stuff is dual entitlement, then that'd be a different story. But I can't see that happening anytime soon. I mean, it'd be great if it does, but in any event, that was the the straw for me. I'm gonna stick to my word. Third parties on Steam. Still got my Game Pass subscription for first party. I'll still purchase for the the early access or the additional content on their first party, but no more third party. As far as for me, it's not worth investing in that ecosystem any further for third party having a PC. But outside of that, it was great seeing that they were able to answer all the questions that the community had, or a good bit of the questions the community had. I kind of feel that mentioning of Starfield, where and we'll never know the real answer, but the fact that it was brought up, and I understand Tina Armini is going to do her best to put the questions out there that will help put a lot of the nonsense that was going on to rest. I do feel with that one specifically being mentioned, that was probably higher on the move over list, and the feedback or pushback maybe knocked it down the list. I won't say that it completely knocked it off the list, but probably knocked it down. Like if there's a round, like if you look at these tests as annual rounds, it probably went from round 2 to round 6 or something like that. But it is what it is. But overall, they did a great job going through a lot of the info that people were looking for. As far as the future, for if you're a console only player, I would say there's nothing better at this time, and look forward to the future of the hardware that they're going to be providing. If you are a console player and PC player, or have access to both, my recommendation is lean more into PC, because that's eventually what this business change is going to lead to. It is going to be an app. Now, you'll have their hardware, which will be great and will probably be great for the price, but there's always going to be a difference between console hardware and PC hardware. And I'm just going to lean more into PC for myself, and that's what I would recommend to those that can. But that's all I got.
All right. Interesting take, man. Now, once again, man, everybody's a bit different. Like, I'm not the biggest PC guy here. Obviously, I'm probably the only one on the panel that doesn't have one. Definitely thinking about building one, but so that's definitely an interesting take. So I kind of want to get into some of the additional stuff that we got as well too. I know Fuzz, you had just mentioned it, talked about some of the hardware stuff. I kind of wanted to get in some of the outlier stuff too. Now I wanted to know what you guys think about the proposition of maybe even a handheld, some type of remote device, so to speak. And I guess we'll start with you on this one, Mav. We've talked about this, for the last few weeks. I would say within the last few weeks, at least, we've talked about this here at the Shop Podcast on the idea that maybe this is something that can actually happen. For the longest period of time, I just never thought that they would even consider it. But obviously, we've gotten leaks and documents and things like that. They've actually looked at this, seriously. So where are you at on possibly handheld anything?
Yeah, I mean, I'm down if I want it to be powerful, even if it's going to be more expensive, and it needs to be great with a docking system, right? Because for me, I wouldn't find a lot of value having some shitty little thing like PlayStation has with it's like cloud streaming or anything like
Mhm.
that, or or a way less powerful system like a Switch or something. I really want it to be a native device, right, that can play your games. Now, maybe not necessarily as great as whatever the next hardcore big regular console they make, but in a really like strong way. And I want it needs to be back compat to your library, all these kind of things. I want all the bells and whistles with it because for me, I'm looking at it like consumer wise, if it's as in comparison, like what a Series S is today to the next generation, right? Then I'm looking at it like, okay, so what if I got multiple docks, right? For like the places I don't play as much, right?
Mhm.
And I have that one console I can kind of take with me. I can play it in bed. I can kind of play it wherever, and then I can kind of migrate it to wherever those other TVs are when I want to access those, right? But then my hardcore places where I play the most get the more elite box, whatever that
Mhm.
ends up being, that the biggest leap ever. Like I'll call it the Xbox Series Leap right now. Whatever that ends up being, I want that on my like hardcore places. But yeah, man, I think it's interesting because we talked about this a few times before already as well, man. It's crazy, guys. All this stuff we talk about just for years and stuff, it just seems to happen. I don't understand how we can with not really understanding the industry get so many guesses and things right so far ahead of time. But we talked about them having the ability to be more creative in the future, as Pong said, because the console is just a part of the ecosystem, right? They don't necessarily have to worry about making something that is going to be the main gateway for all the gamers to access it, right? There's going to be a lot cheaper and easier ways to access this ecosystem in the future, and that's going to continue to happen. But for those of us, right, these gamers that spend the most money, that want the ease of use of a console, that like kicking back on a couch, but still want a badass, great gaming experience. What are the options going to be for us hardcore console
Yeah.
gamers, right?
There's a lot of
And
factors, man.
yeah, there is,
Like,
and I think they're unleashed with the creativity now because they're less shackled, having to make something as appealing for the masses, where they're making stuff more for us. And I want that. And I hope that's what they do, where because it's a part of everything, it's not the only thing, right? Then now maybe we get some really interesting things for us, and I'm all for that, man. I hope we see more than even just whatever this is, even more than just the handheld and the next big box that they have or whatever. I want them to keep innovating and finding different ways to give devices for people to access the ecosystem, and that the more options that we have as consumers, the better. You know what I mean?
definitely.
So for me, that's what I want.
It's
Like a utopia world, PTK. Every game would be everywhere, and we just make a decision based on the best device that you can possibly play your games on for what you want, right? That's not the way the world works right now, and it's not the way it'll probably work for a very long time. But this is kind of starting to edge that way slightly, you know?
yeah. Okay. Well, no. Once again, it's crazy to think that this is where we're at. These are things that, like you said, Mav, like with pure fiction for us, right? We talked about these things behind the scenes in the DMs. Possibly a handheld. Will Xbox ever even consider, going that route? Once again, chat. All of this is unsubstantiated. We don't really know 100% yet, but the actual possibility that this could be a thing for them, right? This can be something that they can actually pull off. Now, like you said, do they pair this with something else? The fact that they don't have to worry about this being their like primary thing is a
Yeah.
benefit. You know what I mean? I think that is a cool, because like Nintendo, that's kind of their thing. It's the Switch. I mean, you got the DS stuff, but the Switch is really it, right? Like they haven't reiterated that DS at all. Very
Hmm.
very much. It's been a while since they've revised that at all. Really, since the Switch has come out. So that's not the case with Xbox and or Microsoft. That's not going to be their primary like gateway in the gaming. It's probably not going to be the best way to play their games, but it will be an additional option, and I think that's kind of cool. They got a lot of they've done some creative things. The AI stuff can be cool too. I know Pong's definitely probably going to get into that for sure. And speaking of, let's just segue this right over to you, Pong. Kind of this handheld stuff, man. Like we kind of jumped into that a little bit. The possibility of that. It's crazy that we're even talking about this realistically.
Makes sense. Makes sense completely with the way they're going, right? They're not going to compete with the Switch 2. That's again, Nintendo's going to do their thing. They're competing with the Steam Decks and all that kind of stuff now, and it's getting to the point of saturation here with the amount of handhelds. So, but Xbox has the ability to differentiate themselves here, going into the next gen, because they can make this giant ecosystem, one big platform, accessible from wherever you are, right? Whatever you're playing on, whatever screen it is. And that includes a handheld made by them specifically to work all seamlessly between console, between mobile, between every little piece that they're going to include in all this. And I think the handheld could be like one of the biggest selling points for them if they do it right. And like I said previously, and we talked about this last night, it was a great conversation, but like I said earlier tonight too here as well, I think from Sarah Bond's words, if she is speaking any part truth, the facts are the facts. They are going balls to the wall here. They have a clean slate to do what they want to do and break away from the traditions that we have been used to as a console maker. What we think of this, what we think of as standard kind of console, now you can do that box, but you can make it a hybrid like they've talked about it. You could make it a lot of different directions and have the handheld be available for those people that are mostly on the go, but make one that is powerful enough that it can be docked, unlike the Switch, and look good on a big screen, that can run games natively, right? And all that kind of stuff. I think they're going the premium experience route here. And like Mav said, this is where we see eye to eye on this, that making your mark on this industry now by changing directions and saying, you know what? Cool. We're no longer worried about selling 100 million consoles or even 50 million consoles anymore. We're going to cater to the enthusiasts with our hardware. It is going to be the best place to play Xbox, but you're going to have a lot of other choices out there to go play your Xbox games wherever you're at. Cool, that's fine with us. But if you want the best place to play, we're going to give you the best of the best up front on our hardware, and that includes the handheld. So I think they go high-end handheld here. I think it works in conjunction with your box. If you've got the box, whatever the console is like, whatever we're going to say it is.
What's the price point though, right? What are we looking like?
Well, I said last night, $800 for the box, $500 for the handheld. Okay, that's what I said last night. I said they're going to open up financing even more so. They already introduced that with the Series X, right? I think they open up financing. I think we start to look at the phone kind of situation a little bit more here. But Steele brought up some great points this morning on living split screen. Shout out to Steele. I see you in the chat, brother.
Yeah.
Shout out to Steele. He brought up some great points. And he said, no, potentially your handheld is the most expensive piece of the puzzle. And if you're going to go all out, you go all out in the handheld, and you make that because you can't cut corners on the handheld. You want it to perform up to par, with the games you don't want. You're going to go all out, and handheld technology obviously can be more expensive than the box technology can because of the size limitations, all that kind of stuff. So he says you go all out in the handheld, and he said that's your $600, $700 piece of equipment. So he makes valid points, whatever the case may be, right? However they work this out. I think they are more expensive. I think they go high end on this stuff. I think that what we talked about with the biggest technological leap in any generation that Sarah Bond, I'm taking that at face value, poo-poo it all you want. I'm going to get excited and I'm going to talk about this stuff like this, that they are going to try to do this. You start including potentially AI into the box, right? Which they already have with machine learning.
That's going to be crazy too.
But we know Microsoft has been investing heavily in AI. They're creating their own AI chip, in fact. The fact that if they even put it in there before even some of the tech is available, right? That they aren't sure necessarily how devs are going to use all the functions of that AI chip, but they put it in there anyway, so that as the generation goes on, it opens up new possibilities. That's the kind of cutting edge stuff I would like to see. And again, I want to see a seamless experience. They have already built all the infrastructure to do this. But imagine you got your handheld. This is my vision. This is my dream, right? And I'm not the handheld guy. I don't have a whole lot of use for handhelds. But if they do it this way, if they make it compelling, I'll probably be in on it. But let's say I'm, at work and I'm playing my handheld during break or whatever the case may be. I pause my game and I take it home with me and it's in pause mode, and I walk in the door and I do my usual and I get downstairs to my couch and I pop down on the couch and I hit one button and seamlessly my new brand spanking new cutting edge console from Xbox underneath my TV powers up. My game transfers from the handheld to the console seamlessly, and on my TV screen, I'm right where I left off at work 3 hours ago. Right? That to me, if they can pull that kind of stuff off, and they've already built some of that stuff in and around this, that to me is compelling. That to me makes me want to go try this. And like I said last night, if you really think about it, Xbox has nothing to lose here per se in the console space. It is a clean slate. So what if they pull this off? What if they come out with a piece or two or three pieces of hardware next gen that really are cutting edge, or that offer a feature set inside and outside the boxes that you can't find on PlayStation, that you can't find over on Nintendo? And all of a sudden, people start investing, the enthusiasts, the Xbox enthusiasts start investing in it. The games start coming out. We know what their lineup's going to look like from first party, potentially for the start of next gen. All of a sudden, everybody's talking about, holy shit, this is freaking amazing over here. Look what they've done. Look what Xbox has done, right? We are having some great games come out that are performing at high levels. Like, this is amazing. That word starts to creep out, and that same thing that Sony has instilled in their fan base, that we are the premium experience. You are buying the cool box. You are buying the best when you buy a PlayStation, because look at what we do different from the competition. You get the best first party games over here because we make movie games. Plus you got the DualSense controller with all these extra features, all that stuff that they've built up over years. What ends up all of a sudden people start looking over at the PlayStation dudes and they're like, yo, you still playing on that PlayStation 6? What are you doing over there, man? What are you doing? The Xbox is the premium experience. We got all these bells and whistles. Look at how the games are performing over here. Yeah, we paid a lot, but that's the premium experience, right? Apple started this, right? Apple did this, right? And that Sony copied that. What if this Xbox takes a page out of everybody else's book? Supposedly the Surface team is working on the next hardware. If there's one thing about the Surface is it was a great design, right? It didn't live up to expectations, but it was a great design. You could see how that was a premium product. If they can pull that off in the console space with a console, with a handheld, maybe with a, like a puck or a stick or whatever, the cloud streaming device, and all of a sudden they create something special that other people don't see over on their side because it's so different from the standard kind of console fare that PlayStation puts out, and it's not the same as the handheld that the Switch, that Nintendo puts out with the Switch 2. Also, people start going, yeah, no, man, this is the place to be. We pay more because it's the premium experience. We're getting the best.
So what you're saying is, I didn't never consider this, and I'm glad that I'm super glad. This is why I love doing this goddamn podcast, is because I get these point of views that I never consider. So I'm glad Matt brought this up. I'm glad you brought it up. Is that they could really turn that premium device market kind of into their favor, essentially, if they just dedicate the resources to just making the best possible console experience, right?
Yes, and they could flip the whole table, because again, they're not so concerned because it's only one access point to their ecosystem. They're not concerned with the numbers, and when you're not concerned with the numbers, but yet you're still going to pour R&D into it, a lot of R&D. If Sarah Bonds is not lying, if she's telling the truth, they're going to be pouring a lot of R&D into this stuff. Then all of a sudden you come out, break the mold in a sense, and get attention that way. Is it going to be for everybody? No. Is it going to be out of some people's price range? Yes, but so are our damn cell phones, and yet all of us are carrying around $1,000+ hand phones in our hands now, generally speaking. Right, I'm not saying everybody, because not everybody
no, I
does.
get it.
But you know what? It's normal
Yeah.
now. When you see a brand new Apple or a brand new Samsung, these things are priced out at 1,000+. But we get them financed, right? But people make those exceptions for certain things. Why can't they do it here with something like a console and handheld combination that gives you an experience that you can't find anywhere else? Top of the line, awesome hardware. People love tech. People spend money on tech. So yes, is it going to be out of some people's budgets? Absolutely. But in the overall grand scheme of things, Microsoft, Xbox, they will have a place for you to play elsewhere if that's the case, right? You will still be able to get in on all the latest and greatest games from another access point if you can't go ahead and jump into the premium side where it's the best place to play Xbox games, as Phil said. That's okay if they're going to move in this direction where they're opening it up to everybody. So be it. Then make that
And
your
that's
own personal space.
and that's where I think, and I love your great point, but that's where I think that they can kind of counter Fuzz's point too. And I think they have an opportunity there. And not to say, Fuzz, that you were wrong in any of your assessment, because you were not, sir. Obviously, we're all a bit different in how we view things. Is that I think that, like, I understand the fact that if we start getting the PC prices and the console's not matching like PC output, what am I doing, right? Like, that's kind of your sentiment, is that, like, why even bother paying and I'm not even getting the same results, right?
Right.
I assume that's kind of your base
Yeah.
sentiment. So I
And
still think,
just real quick, like,
yeah,
to your point though, like, PTK, like Fuzzy, like your point of view, right, is what Microsoft needs to defend against. You know what I mean? Like, they don't want people to have that outlook on their future and lose faith in their storefront. You know what I mean? So, like, if in the future, like, Pong's kind of right here, like, they have these other boxes, you know what I mean, and that we're all interested in, and, like, okay, your concern is that those aren't going to be popular enough, so then they maybe just end up leaving the console hardware space all in all, right? So, but if that enthusiast box does take off because it wins back that cool card again, you know what I mean? In a weird way, it would be interesting to see, like, I stop trying to tone things down for the mass market idea, end up turning around and work in their favor to where it became cool again, to when then it's outsold like crazy. You know what I mean? Because when you're making something that's built for the core of who your fan base is or who the people are and what they actually want, that could end up having, like you said, Pong, like, different effects in the future. And it could end up surprising them. It could end up surprising, like, they were like, nobody's going to buy this, like, expensive ass stuff. We're just making it for these guys. But all of a sudden, it's like everybody's talking about how amazing it is. You know what I mean? And, like, because they don't want people to fear the store, the digital storefront, right? And, like, they need to always have that dedicated idea that they're going to have hardware, right? So maybe that is the answer, you know?
Well, they've had success with premium products in the past. Like, look at the Elite controller. That was a perfect example. Like, back when it was first introduced, I mean, yeah, there were some, esports players or extreme enthusiasts that were okay buying a scuff for almost 200 and some odd dollars. But when they originally introduced that as an official Xbox Elite controller, everybody looked at them like they were crazy. Like, who's going to buy that? And the thing still
that's a good
sells to this
comparison,
day.
Fuzz. That's a good comparison.
So that there is there is definitely room for a premium product that's done well,
So,
and the
can I
Surface
ask you a
Team is good
question?
at that. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Sorry to kind of cut you off here. What would you need specifically from them? So, say for instance, they said, "Okay, Fuzz, here's the budget, right? Here's the budget, Fuzzy. All right, we're gonna give you the keys. Here's the budget. Just tell us what you need. What are you putting together to make that happen?"
All right. So the key thing is to be at least on par or better than what the Steam Deck 2 is going to be. Now, they should be able to get some insight from AMD as far as what that may entail. And if they go ahead and put that AI chip in there as well, I think that kind of combination, as long as they have figured out kind of a roadmap of what that AI chip would do, whether it's offloading, certain tasks for, the world or the game itself, as far as running those more, heavy, CPU intensive things, possibly offloading some of that onto that, or maybe it helps on the graphical side of things as far as rendering, where it's almost like its own built-in DLSS kind of setup, where you basically are running it at 1080, but it's looking like it could be upscaled, especially if it's connected to a TV at like 4K and stuff. So there are definite things that I would like to see in a handheld. The price point, I guess if they do the Steam Deck type of route, have a 1 terabyte, because at this point, 1 terabyte is kind of like what needs to be the new standard minimum. And then 2 terabyte would be like the enthusiast one.
Yeah.
I think if you have a handheld, one coming with the 1 terabyte, if you could get it at 600 or below, I think you're golden, especially if it has all of the hardware on par or better than
Yeah, I
what the
think
Steam
that's a
Deck
good
2 will
price.
be,
600's good.
because it's not too out there for the enthusiast. Well, it's definitely not out there for the enthusiast, and it's within reach, especially with or without financing. It's still within some form of reach, especially considering how cost of things have gone up. So 600 is like 600 would be like the new 500 that we've seen with this console launch. Even though, yes, I understand the Switch 2 is not that, but then again, the Switch 2 is not going to be anywhere near as powerful as what this thing could be. But I think price point and more bang for buck, yeah, they could subsidize, yeah, they could take a little bit of a loss. I know they don't want to take a little bit of a loss, but I think that would be something where that's on the hardware front. Now on the software front, we've kind of talked about this a couple of episodes ago, where there is a Windows Mini version in beta out there. It's basically all the essentials you would need to do gaming stuff, and maybe a few other things like browsing and stuff. But you could wrap that in like an Xbox skin. Like Xbox, your UI that's on your console now is like an extremely light version kind of Windows to some extent. And if they have something like that on this handheld, where you could section it off, or at least add other, PC software that you own, because at this point it is a portable PC, much like the Steam Deck is. You can hook it to a monitor, you can hook a keyboard and mouse to it if you want, or you can, do a wireless controller to it. But if you have it where you could access PC games, there are certain PC games out there that are never going to come to console. And considering a lot of these handhelds have more buttons than your typical controllers, or the fact if you really wanted to, it's easy enough to dock them and hook a keyboard and mouse to them. Something like Escape from Tarkov makes it into the Xbox ecosystem that way, or something along those lines. So I think hardware got to be on par with Steam Deck 2, plus their AI chip, and have it where it does some stuff either for visuals, or at least for the the heavy lifting for the CPU, or like in conjunction with it. And then on the software side of things, make it so it's maybe not as easy as to like jailbreak per se, but have it where, okay, if you bought something from GOG or BattleNet or something like that, and you want to be able to play it on this basically portable PC, you could still do that. Or make it so you have that section in your Microsoft Store, because as it's expanding and your hardware, and player base are looking to expand, you have these, for handheld or the next gen console only, because they have the ability to play some of those PC games. And make it so it's clear, detailed, that you would need like a keyboard, or maybe you have an on-screen keyboard, which would be kind of silly, much like the Steam Deck has. But that from a hardware standpoint, that's what the handheld needs to be. I would like to see it, at the $600 mark. I mean, if the 2 terabyte has to be more than that, I understand, but I would say maybe like a 550 and 600, 1 terabyte and 2 terabyte. I know those prices aren't really in line with those drive sizes, but also make it where you could do the SD cards, much like the Steam Deck does. And I think the Legion and the Lenovo Go and all of them are able to do some games on those cards. Now, bear in mind, they won't be, completely stutter free like they are with the built-in SSD type of deal, but you might get, if you're playing a more intensive game that's installed on one of those, which I think you can get up to 2 terabyte ones now as well, you might have some stuttering issues. But if you're playing something like Hades, or if you're playing like Hi-Fi Rush, you should be fine type of deal on that, having it installed to that. But for the big boy console, I kind of want to lean into like what Mav was saying, as far as like a more enthusiast type of item. I don't necessarily want to say have it go all the way up to 800 or anything like that type of deal, but have something that, is on par with, I guess, if we were to timestamp it today for something that would be in production for 2026 to 2027, something that's going to be either on par with RDNA 5, or I really wish there was, a bigger push. Like they're saying they want to go big as far as this technological leap. Partner with NVIDIA. Like I'm not going to poo-poo on AMD, but for video cards right now, it's still not up to par in comparison. And I say, if you're going to make a console that possibly maybe it has 2 tiers, like the one with the NVIDIA chip versus the APU that's AMD, make that one 500 or 600 if that's the new pricing for consoles and stuff. Make that one 600 and the one with NVIDIA 700, and you'll see a difference. Now the 500 is not, or the 600 is not going to be a slouch with the AMD APU, but if you have one that's like AMD and NVIDIA, that one being 700, I think that one would be okay. You're doing 4K, you're doing 120 frames. You're probably not doing ray tracing if you want to do the 4K, but you would like make the new target, I would say 1440, 120, ray tracing, particle effects, all the bells and whistles, the pretty up every game. So it looks, whether it's photorealistic or just face melting and eye watering kind of deal, have it where that's the type of power output that they shoot for with a $600 and $700 box that you could put under your TV. Now, for those that aren't in that price range, the streaming box that can do a small amount of digital content, pretty much it'd be like the Series S2, make that around the $200 to $300 range. And that, it's a smaller box, it's digital only. It leans heavier on the streaming aspect of things. But you can do probably, I don't know what the drive size would need to be, but you could probably do, I would say maybe 3 to 5 games on that internal drive. And then anything else you would need to stream or, put on an external and then transfer and whatnot. But I think that would be the hardware route where everything would remain as healthy as it is today, if not more so. You have the enthusiasts with all the bells and whistles that they could ask for. Pricing might be a little bit steeper than what they're calling for today, but it would be in line with what the tech would be almost for, what do you call that? When you're doing bulk purchases in comparison to PC parts and things like that. So you'd have something that's on par with current day PCs or pretty darn close to it for, I would say, roughly a third the cost, but it's still a pretty stout cost.
Yeah.
But I think all of that would satisfy all ranges of the spectrum, from the entry level to the people that are on the go, to those that solely want the console experience on the couch, under the TV type of deal. You have them all covered. But I think all of that would be the way to go. But it's pricing. I just, my gut is it's going to be a little bit of a sticker shock, almost like the way PS3 time was, and hopefully no one at Xbox, everybody that's there now, I don't think is as stupid as
we got
PlayStation was about getting the second job. So yeah, as long as they don't pull anything like that, expect the sticker shock, but it'll be a lot of potent tech for that price.
Well, we have some interesting things coming up too, because it's not the only thing happening in the market. And I want to kind of pose you guys with a couple quick questions here too. One, obviously, we got this rumored possible PS5 Pro, right? So we got to see where that's at, how much that costs, how big of a jump, if that actually comes out, how big of a jump is that in comparison to? Because that's also going to add a bit of perspective to this conversation that we're having. Now, two, the other question is, does this handheld need its own hardware? Or is it okay just being a box that you just play? I mean, obviously you could play things natively on while you're on the go, but does it need literally its own games specifically made for it?
No, it should play the same games across the board.
Same games, right? I think that's a bigger appeal for Xbox.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want developers also being like
That's
having
true.
to
Having
make
develop
like
two different types of
yeah.
No.
The key part of the Xbox ecosystem, if you like
ease of use,
develop
portability.
The developers develop one game that can be played across all these different kinds of devices, right? So if you start having like, okay, well, you're gonna make a game, but it's only gonna be available for like a couple million people, maybe, right? At that point, that kind of limits your ambitions sometimes, and like your investments into what kind of game you're going to make, and all those kind of things as well. I mean, look at like that's kind of what the VR space is now. You know what I mean? You don't have a whole lot of great things because there's just not a lot of people that have them. At the end of the day, if there was 150 million VR owners out there that really were invested in it right now, you would have a lot more great games coming out for VR all the time. But like if you just make it for dedicated devices specifically, that's niche audience.
That's a tough space to live in
like,
right now.
That's why there's so many Switch games. Like there's just so many Switch games. There's so many Switches, right? But there wasn't as many Wii U games.
Yeah. Good point. No, that's a good point. Good point. So I just thought that I know Pong. I know you're gonna get into this Pong, but I thought so. No, you either Pong, right? No dedicated games. Everything needs to be uniform. Okay.
Everything uniform again because you're not competing in the Switch realm. You're not separating the handheld from the rest of the ecosystem. It's not something different. It's a companion, or for some people a main way to play. But you're competing with the Steam Decks, which is the big thing. There's not people just making games just for the Steam Deck.
Question though, before I lose the thought.
Yeah,
the Vote Alpha just had a great question in chat. Yeah. What if you got King sitting over there? What if King says, "Hey, we want to whip up something special just for this device"?
But it would play everywhere.
Okay,
it would be compatible, right? If they're developing for the handheld, it'd still play elsewhere, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's the thing. That's the beauty of all of this. So yeah, let King go ahead and make one, but it'll be available on it'll be available everywhere for everybody. In fact, the way that Microsoft and Xbox are talking, they want to have the scalability so that the phones are getting powerful enough that if you're playing on the phone, that the game is going to work. We already see Resident Evil 4 on Apple, right? So again, that's what they're shooting for, is across the board, wherever you play, you can play the same types of games, the same games, I should say, and have the experience that is relative to whatever device you're playing on, and it'll all just scale, right? That's what they're looking for. And that's why I think it's very important that we continue. Again, Nintendo is different from everybody else, but even if PlayStation rolls out a new handheld, which there's smoke about them doing a handheld as well, I gotta believe it's not going to be a Vita where they have to have the developers again go work on separate games. Like that doesn't make any sense anymore. That was one of the problems with the PSP and the Vita, was that they didn't give it, well, number one, Sony didn't support them the way they should, but number two, they had a hard time getting developers to put time and effort into those games. The hardware was phenomenal. Bro, the hardware was phenomenal, right? Yeah, absolutely, but they didn't have the base to support those games, so third-party developers were like, why would we do this? Well, the same thing's going to be here, especially nowadays, with how many competing devices there are for people's time. Like, the easier it is for a developer to make one game that plays across more devices at the same time, the better it is, the more chance you're going to have that happen, because they're going to make it the game anyway, and you just port it, just have it works on your handheld like that. So no, I definitely think we're at that stage now where it will play the same exact games that you play on your console, your PC, or your mobile, whatever. It'll be the same type. It'll be the same games.
Awesome. Okay, Fuzz.
I think that needs, like Mav and Pong said, it needs to play the same games that the base console would play. Although, if, like you said, if King wants to make a game specifically for the handheld, almost like the way Bethesda made what was that, the Fallout Shelter, which was mainly a mobile game, but you could still play it on PC and console.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have
Yep.
to be the way to go. So they make the game, but it's still playable. Just that it won't have like touch controls or something like that, unless they could figure out a way where you could use your phone through the app as the actual controller, and then
Why not?
touch controls that way. But yeah, I think, unified games, just have them scale for the different devices as far as the maybe the resolution or something like that. But overall, that would be the way to go. But what was it? Was there a second part to that as well? I'm sorry.
No. So one of the questions was just regarding, dude, I done forgot my dang self. Regarding, dang, what the heck was that?
Let me say something real quick while you're trying to remember.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm trying to.
one interesting side effect that could happen from Xbox entering the handheld space is the third party publishers and stuff that have been making games that are kind of built for like a Switch. You know what I mean? That all of a sudden, well, now there's another device that you may have a market that could be interested in. You know what I mean? So you could end up having some different kinds of games go to Xbox that maybe have avoided them in the past.
No, that's a good point. So,
but that would also benefit the regular console as well, if they did that. So
yeah, no, that's an interesting point too. So, first, one of the points was regarding just, does this handheld device need its own games, right? I think you kind of addressed that a little bit about, everything needs to be uniform across the board. Like you said, if it was okay, like it's okay for King to do something specific to the device, but it would need to be scalable. And I know you mentioned I don't know about a phone. I know that was something that they've thought about as well too, a possible phone. Now once again, Fuzz, we got to be realistic here. You're competing with a ton of other screen time too in this day and age. Everybody has phones, everybody has tablets. Like, how are we getting to the point to where like we're just too many devices? Are we like, that's the one thing I worry about at this? Like, are we at that point to where, okay, this is where there's too many devices? You know what I mean? Like, competing for people's attention.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody kind of picks their favorites as far as the devices that they tend to always gravitate to. Like for me, the phone was okay for a while, but as I get older, my eyes aren't quite what they were in the smaller screens, because I'm not carrying like a tablet for a phone. I just get a regular size phone. So I'm past the phone phase. Like my phone, I can scroll Twitter if I'm out somewhere or whatever. Otherwise, I can just look at it on a screen or something like that, a different screen. But like for gaming, for me right now, a handheld or console would be best. But I think a lot of people now currently, especially if they can figure out the whole iOS and Play Store stuff, the phones that are out there now, they already have a good bit of the Xbox ecosystem stuff ready to go. It's just a matter of Apple, finally bending the knee. Hopefully they do it just or beyond just the EU. I know the EU is kind of forcing the issue, but right now I think the only weird thing is the whole taxes when you're outside of their store when it comes to their pay system and stuff. But
did you see, Fuzzy, that Epic is coming back to Apple with their own storefront?
Yeah. Now the thing is, they're Apple is only doing the bare minimum to allow that to happen, kind of thing. And now they're like, normally if you're in the Apple store, they kind of cover the taxes for the third parties. But if you go and do your own store, you have to handle all the taxes yourself, kind of thing. And it's almost like they add like their own extra tax to it, type of deal, or something weird along those lines. So they're purposely making it more taxing for these other companies that are opening up stores. But I mean, it's a given. It's their walled garden that finally somebody knocked down one of the fences, type of deal. So, but yeah, I think phones are going to be the low hanging fruit once they can get maybe a Game Pass mobile mixed into Game Pass Ultimate, for those that are playing Candy Crush, for those that are enjoying, was it, I forget what the Doom game is called. It's Doom something, I think.
Mighty Doom.
Mighty Doom. And, for all the other mobile games that they have or will eventually make and things like that, I think at that point, them opening up that store will be the greatest thing as far as getting more or those reaching newer customers. I think that's how they'll wind up doing it. Now, the only drawback is, time and time again, it is shown that people like using the default app on their phones. That's why the Blue Bubble wins in the States. Doesn't win anywhere else outside of the States. But us Americans, I guess we like using the default app. So we'll see how much of a headache it is to, change the store on our iPhone or on our Pixel or Samsung or whatever. But I would still like to see them make a phone, but that's probably way, way down the line of priority. I think the portable is probably their best shot as expansion. For those that didn't already buy a Series S that are, PlayStation mains or Nintendo Switch mains, I could see a Nintendo Switch person picking up the portable. They have their Nintendo box, and then they have their more powerful third-party box kind of thing. Unless the Switch 2 is really going to step up the ladder as far as for third-party power output and stuff. But sorry for rambling.
No, it's good. It's good. Now, and I do want to get into one other thing too, and kind of turn the energy up here towards the end, because quiet is kept, and I kind of want to end the show on a high note here. Pong, something that I realized amongst all of the turmoil, all of the infighting, all of the negativity, the rumors, the lies, the scandals, all of those negative things. You know what I realized, Pong? If you just take a step back, quiet is kept. 2024 has been a phenomenal year in gaming already, right? To say the least, we've had like historic things happening on a regular basis that people we really should be highlighting. And I kind of want to end the show and kind of get everybody's opinion just on in chat too. This is for you guys too. Just on what all these insane crazy things blowing up, games coming out of nowhere left and right, breaking records all over the place, games people didn't think were going to be as popular, games doing things we haven't seen in 15, 20 years. I mean, all kind of historic things, Japanese games, fighting games, platformers, RPGs, RTSs, all these, genres just blossoming and blooming. I kind of want to go around the panel here, and we'll start with you, Pong. And just kind of, golden age, Pong, you talked about this, and I don't want any of this to get lost, chat, because unfortunately, this is the last thing to get talked about.
Can't. That's why I continuously bring it up. That's why I said I will continue to push the word fun throughout 2024 to fight against everybody else. Because again, between all this drama going on, which again is fascinating. This is part of the industry. This is fascinating to me, but some people, obviously it's very, emotional for it, and we lose sight of the game. So you're absolutely correct, PTK. It's the golden age of gaming. We talked about this last year, at the end of the year, what 2024 could look like. And, I've been on the train. Mav and I had this conversation on PM to PM. Steele and I have had it on Living Split Screen prior to 2024. The blockbusters, the big games that Phil talked about during the business update event, by the way, where he said there were some games in 2023 that will be talked about, a decade from now. And that's true. You got your Starfields, your Zeldas, Spider-Mans, etc. You had these blockbuster games. Hogwarts obviously came out of nowhere, but became a blockbuster, best-selling game of the year. You had all that in 2023, and we talked about that being one of the GOAT years. But when we talked about 2024, when it started the first half, because again, the second half, we've got a little bit clearer picture, but we still don't know a whole lot. But when this first half started to solidify and games started sliding in, right? And we started seeing some of these games. Now, it's going to be dependent upon what you enjoy. I always say I'm different. I enjoy a huge variety of different games, right? So for me, I get excited about a lot of games, right? For some of you out there, you might be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like I've got one game, two games here and there that I actually really like out of this lineup. But when I saw the lineup, and even though we didn't have maybe the massive blockbusters, right? The big ones that we think about, the big new IP or the big established IP necessarily dropping this year. When you saw that first half, I started to get excited and I started talking about the fact that even without some of the big stuff, this potentially could be a more packed year than 2023. That when we get to end of 2024, we could sit back and say, this actually might have just topped 2023 in terms of overall content and greatness. And how it, but the
just
thing
look
that
just look at Power World, look at Helldivers.
Helldivers too. Look at how Tekken 8 has taken 2 million in 3 weeks for a fighting game. Persona. We got Grand Blue Fantasy Relink being played a ton. Like we've got all of these things already. But the other thing is PTK, the thing we did not know about, and the thing that we always talk about when we have these conversations about kind of looking at the road, but they got to hit. Well, guess what? They're all freaking hitting.
They're all
and even if, again, who gives a shit about scores, right? Yeah, but if we look at Metacritic and OpenCritic, they're all 80 above. Like we're talking a stretch run here that we don't see very often with this many titles across different genres from all different developers, publishers coming out of nowhere. But the scores have been matching exactly what's happening with the gamers clamoring and saying these are great games. That is something a little bit different this time around. The beginning of the year being this packed, 2 months in already, a 2-week stretch in which I bought 4 brand new IP. And now you can throw out Suicide Squad and say, yeah, but that didn't hit and that was one of the ones in there. It hit for me. It's one of the most slept on games this year already. It probably will be the most slept on game. That's a personal opinion. I don't care what you think about Suicide Squad. The game is freaking fantastic. Steele and I jumped into it again last night before Xbox Ultimate. My God, that game is so much fucking fun. Anyways, the vast majority of the games that have already dropped have been approved by the critics and have been approved by the gamers as great games. And these aren't even... A lot of these games aren't even the heavy hitters this year. We still got things like Star Wars Outlaws. We got Dragon's Dogma 2 in March, which I think is going to be Game of the Year material. Like we have so many games every single month. This is the golden age. 2024 is off to a rip-roaring start. I'm enjoying the hell out of myself on all these games. I can't believe how many games I'm playing right now, new games that I'm playing right now. And, you know, obviously, again, I'm on my PC villain arc here, so I'm playing a lot on PC, but that doesn't bother me. The fact that I've got access to all these games, there are so many more that I have not picked up yet. Banishers Ghost of New Eden is getting great reviews. People playing it saying, oh my God, this game's drop dead gorgeous. That was on my list last year when I saw it saying, Don't Nod doesn't always hit, but I really want to play this game. This game looks so freaking awesome. And it's turned out to be that way. It's in the 80s. People that are playing it are going, that's too low. This game is phenomenal. Get in here. I don't know when I'm going to have a chance. PTK, that's how much I have zero clue how I'm going to pick up all these games and try them, even as a grazer. Even as somebody who doesn't care about finishing games, I'm still looking at these lineup this year, along with what I still got from last year. And I'm like, man, how am I going to do this, bro?
This tip of the iceberg, man. I was just thinking about, I was looking at like Towerborn footage today. I was looking at like, you know, oh man, I was just, come on. We're not even getting, there's so many like little small things. I was looking at that new footage from that new game made by Moon Studios.
Yes. Oh my God. You see that? Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. Oh man.
Oh my God. No rest.
No rest
for the wicked. No rest for the wicked.
Yeah.
It's going to be phenomenal. We've got Indiana Jones coming this year. We've got freaking Avowed this year, which is going to be a time sink. We got Hellblade 2 coming. Like, there is just so much goddamn stuff. And again, Stellar Yams is coming. If it comes to PC, I'll be there day one. I mean, that footage is looking for. Yeah. We have so much, no matter where you're playing this year.
Is Wukong this year too, right?
Yeah, Wukong is still this year. Yeah, it'll be second half this year.
Come on, Mav. Talk to me, Mav. Come on, man.
Gaming is great. Yeah, I mean, there's like you guys said, there's just so much stuff to play right now. Like it's hard to really keep up. Like I've actually been playing Enshrouded this whole while we're on the podcast.
Look, listen, I've been watching people stream that. I'm so fucking jealous, dude, that I don't have a PC to run that, dude. God,
it's good. It's damn good.
It's a solid game. It's like for me, it just came out of nowhere. You know, it's like, well, you know, I'm just gonna try this one now. You know, but holy crap, I'm kind of sucked into it. It's not easy. I'm getting my ass kicked right now. But it's a blast, man. The variety too, bro. Like there's so many different kinds of games that are hitting between Hellblade 2, which is a multiplayer PlayStation game. Who would have thought that they finally got one out? Now they got to figure out how to actually have servers. That's a new for them, right?
Steel dropped in the chat for up to 450 450 capacity now.
Okay,
Sony's throwing out.
I saw that.
Yeah,
let's
go.
They bumped it up a little bit. They should be at 600-700 realistically, man. They would easily be.
Yeah. So they just got to keep, doing the work there. But yeah, fantastically fun game that they're talking about supporting for a long time. The developers are right. So we got that. You have what was the last one to hit? Pow World that's went crazy.
And these aren't short games either, Matt. These are time sink games that we're putting a lot of time. We never expected to be putting this much time into the Helldivers 2. Like we thought we were gonna have a good time, but we didn't think that this would become.
Yeah, we thought it was gonna be like one of those kind of like couple
jump in,
maybe
jump out.
two weekends or so. Kind of like thing. And we do that quite a bit. But like this is something I think we're all gonna be playing for a long time. And they just keep coming, bro. So, like, what does the rest of the year have in store? I mean, we haven't even touched on any Xbox's first party yet.
That's what we were talking about.
Yeah,
we literally were just naming off the stuff.
They have the whole stretch at the end of the second half of the year, or starting with May, right? But and there's surprises. I mean, Matt Booty said 10 releases.
Yeah, he did say that.
Right? So they have more things to reveal at the summer show. So
Starfield expansion, Diablo expansion.
Oh my God. That's coming soon. You guys think that Diablo coming? That's before the show, right? Before the summer showcase.
Yeah, that's March.
March, right? Oh, that's gonna be that's the big one, right?
What?
Is that the Diablo? That's the big update?
The expansion.
No, that the expansion isn't coming in March. I think the expansion is coming later in the year.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But they're dropping it in Game Pass in March before the expansion to get people hooked. Right? It's a great idea to get them hooked and then sell them the expansion.
I thought Diablo would make it before. I thought that update would make it prior to the summer showcase for some reason. I don't know why.
It could be. It could make it May.
But yeah, man, we got so much stuff to play. It's just hard. It's hard to keep up, but I'm all for it. But like you guys were talking about before, the most important thing is that the games are finding success when they're hitting. That's good, and it's good for all the talk about the industry isn't growing, all these things. I mean, as a gamer and seeing all these games getting played so damn much, it sure wouldn't seem that way to me now, right? So we'll see what the numbers end up looking like at the end of this year. But like, between PC games, Xbox games, and even with the third party and second party deals PlayStation's doing for them, like there's just so many great things to play. Like Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth's about to hit too. So and the demo people are loving a lot. So just endless amounts of awesomeness, and that's fantastic. Now then we're gonna get new hardware this year, potentially a Series 3 controller like we talked about before too. Maybe the Switch 2 got pushed back to 2025. There's some rumors going around there. But you know what? Like at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter with this many games, dude. It doesn't.
Fuzz, man, you got to get into this before we wrap it up, man. At the end of the day, Fuzz, I know you feel the way you feel about changing your gaming diet, right, a little bit, but at the end of the day, you're still eating good, Fuzz. And even with the Xbox, I know you said you're still going to keep your Game Pass subscription. There's a lot of meat on the bone.
Well, before I get into all that, I do want to say let's have a moment of silence for foam stars.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
What do you mean? Fuzzy, there are so many people engaged with foam stars. They are so addicted to it that they're not talking about it on social media. That's how addicting this game is. That we don't know how big this game is right now.
No, I think that game died faster than Destruction All Stars. I just had to put it out there, but no,
So don't
moving
put
on
that coming.
seriousness.
If you're a multiplayer exclusive for PlayStation, don't put stars at the end of the name. That's a lesson learned.
Yeah,
Pretty
definitely don't do
much.
that.
Nobody
No,
saw
but
that coming.
yeah, like everything that's on the roadmap here, which it's great having an actual roadmap. You have Avowed, you have Indiana Jones, you have Hellblade 2, you have Aura, you have what's the other one I'm thinking of right now? The one from Square, I guess that's coming this year as well.
Visions of Mana.
Yeah, you have that coming this year. We're going to have Call of Duty and Game Pass this year. They're talking about some more surprises. I know some people keep on spinning up rumors about a Forza Horizon 6. I still think it's a little too early for Forza Horizon 6, but
Pause.
yeah, anything is on the table at this point. And with the June showcase, I mean, yes, it's 4 months away now at this point, or maybe 3.5 months away from now. But yeah, this is going to be a pretty stacked year if you're just looking at Xbox first party. But overall, like you may mention earlier about Black Myth Wukong, that's coming this year. I don't know if I don't think we've heard much about Replace yet. I know
They're teasing.
They're
though.
teasing, man,
It's
little
coming.
bits.
It's
I
coming.
think I saw a post fairly recently.
Yeah, they've been
Yeah.
posting more and more. They're getting ready. Yep, it's coming.
And then you got what do you call it? Stalker 2 coming in September, I believe.
Yep,
I mean,
that'll end the
there's
year.
just so many games, and the fact is, we're probably going to find out about a good handful more coming to our platforms. Around E3-ish time. I mean, I know Xbox is going to have their showcase. I could care less about IGN, but I guess they're going to try to get in on the Summer Games Fest type of dealings around that time of year. So we'll find out some more games that are coming. But man, oh man, I honestly think this is going to be a bigger year than what 2023 was. Now, if I'm not mistaken, although I know that there were some rumblings about with Elden Ring no longer being owned by Bandai Namco, it was purchased or whatever, or separated from Bandai with their publishing. Isn't there DLC for Elden Ring coming out this year?
Yes.
Correct.
Yep. That's on. Yep.
And it's going to be a massive expansion.
Massive.
It's not little DLC.
Yeah.
Yep. Correct.
So yeah, and I'm not supposed to talk about it, but I'm going to say it anyway because I didn't sign an NDA. What do you call it? X Defiant is probably coming real soon, and I'm my fingers are crossed, but I'm hoping for the second half we get Heartland, and then like Pong mentioned earlier, we got Star Wars coming from Ubisoft.
Yep.
Man, it's definitely going to be interesting. But I'm looking forward to the June showcase because I have a gut feeling we're going to see Perfect Dark there.
That'd be dope.
But yeah, there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff this year, and I just
don't want the people to forget, Fuzz.
No,
what's that?
I said I don't want the people to forget. You know what I mean?
Gaming.
Yeah, it's pretty much the extension of the golden age of gaming times 2. Like this is like part 2, where part 2 is better than the original broadcast from last year type of deal. But yeah, I can't wait for a lot of these titles, man. The No Rest for the Wicked, didn't that get a delay though? I think
not a few months. I think
not out of this year. Not out of this year.
Yeah, I don't think it was out of the year.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that one as well. And then there's Silk Song, which hopefully will make an appearance. And then I'm pretty sure, because you guys were posting this in the chat before, the guy that was making The Last Night, I guess he's broken through and generated some software that can help other games with possible remasters and have like this pixel effect type of deal.
It actually takes the original graphics and up-reses them without reworking the code at all. Like
Yeah.
he's got proof of concept. Which
It'd be
is absolutely
amazing
incredible.
if he can use it to finish his game.
And which he's doing because he showed the upgrade, right, Matt?
Yeah.
He showed clips of the upgrades that they've done. But yeah, he's Tim Sword is his name. If you guys want to follow him on Twitter, he's a fascinating dude too, by the way. And he posts a lot of stuff. But yeah, that's still in the works. He's still excited about it. He's posted clips of it, so that'll be coming at some point. I don't know if this year, but
Chat's saying Arc Raiders too. Now we haven't
Arc Raiders. We might see more
that.
about that, especially after the success of finals. You know, obviously they're riding high right now. We should probably see more Arc Raiders this year. We're going to get Path of Exile 2 coming into beta second half of the year, so people will be able to play that early access. Get a chance to play.
First Descendant is another one.
First Descendant is another one that's coming, which Steel absolutely loved.
I love
what
that
he
game.
played.
I enjoyed it too.
So in the beta, there's so many we forget. Like that's how bad it is now, which is good. But that's how crazy it is right now. That how much is that coming out this year?
Yeah, we're gonna. What was that one that just dropped? Banishers or something like that?
Yeah, Banishers Ghost of New Eden. That's the one I mentioned. That was like it was on my list from last year when I saw it. People are praising it right now. The people that are playing it are saying the 80s scores are way too low. This game is phenomenal. One of the best looking games they've ever played. They love the decision making in it. Don't not hit it out of the park again. It just seems like a case of they relaunched it in the wrong window. Like there's too much right now, but hopefully more people will pick it up as the year goes on, because I'm definitely gonna pick it up at some point.
Awesome,
man. It's an awesome time to be a gamer.
Definitely. And I kind of wanted to end the show on that note, chat, because once again, this is why we're here, man. I understand, if you're an Xbox fan, it's been a bit of a roller coaster the last 10 to 12 days or so, but man, it's still so much stuff to look forward to, you know what I mean? And I don't want people to forget why we're here, why this show exists, why we're all on this panel, and why you guys showed up this evening to watch us and listen to us talk. So at the end of the day, we got a lot to look forward to. We're agile people. We're gamers. We've had to deal with this shit before. Let's not act like we're not, this is new to us. We've had to deal with pivoting and figuring what the next thing is going to look out and leaping without knowing what's beneath us. That's kind of part of being a gamer, right, Paul?
Yeah, it is. And the chat's talking about infinite wealth.
Oh, my bad. Yeah.
Oh my God! Like we didn't even mention that because none of us have picked it up, but that's on my list. Like, of course it is.
Broken records for a Yakuza game.
Yeah, Yakuza.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, man! Crazy year, and we got Final Fantasy 14 MMO coming to come to Xbox.
Yeah.
That's been one of the biggest interesting things this year is the kinds of games that have been doing the numbers they have.
You get these live service games, and like you said, they're just popping off like crazy. It's like people are starving for these games. When there was a sentiment growing that people didn't want these like games of service kind of make it as you go kind of games, but that's really what's been popping off.
Who? IGN? Yeah, right. Okay.
Listen,
I
mean,
they've done enough games.
Good point. Live service games next week. See if it changes again.
And the other thing too, these aren't all AAA games. There's a lot of AAA here, but they're not all AAA. There's double A's in here. There's small studios making these games, which goes to show these AAA studios making $300-400 million games that sure are making money, sell well sometimes. You don't have to do that because guess what? The games have to be fun, folks. Fun first, everything else second. You make a fun-ass game, and the players will come. They don't care what kind of developer you are, as much as the Sony only fans try to claim they only play AAA. Guess what? They're starting to flock to Helldivers too now because it's fun, and that's what gaming is supposed to be all about. It doesn't matter how much was spent on it.
And the two biggest examples, Helldivers 2, Power World, man.
Yep.
The historic thing. But like I said, if them servers were where they needed to be, you'd probably see pushing 600-700K concurrent users on Steam with Helldivers, probably easily. I would say maybe pushing 600-700K. And then obviously we saw what Power World did, right? Breaking every almost conceivable record that you can think of in record time. 20 million essentially copies sold, or somewhere along the line of 20 million.
2 million concurrent players.
Insane, bro.
And now today, even today, what is it, a month? Has it been a month?
It's still 500K a day.
Yeah, today was like 340,000 still concurrent peak. Like that's insane, man.
Crazy. So Yeah, man, we're in the golden age of gaming, so I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap the show up on that note. It's been a phenomenal week. We're glad to be back, man. It's been such a great show, chat. You guys have been phenomenal. Appreciate you guys' energy, but let's get to our guests, man, and get to these pleasantries before we let you guys go for the rest of the night, man. So I appreciate you coming through, Mav, dropping in a little bit late, but glad that you can make it, brother. Always fun to have you on, Mr. FSP, man. Let everybody know where they can find you if they don't already know, brother.
Well, you can find me playing games because that's what we do. It's play games, and we also talk games. Yeah, fun speculation over on YouTube, and we got shows Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Come hang out with us and have fun talking games, playing games, and all the kind of fun stuff. Appreciate you, PTK. It's always awesome being here. Chat, you rock, and hope everyone has a great weekend. And now all this chaos and nonsense is over with.
Right? Back to Helldivers too.
Absolutely.
Shout out to you for coming through, Mav. It's my brother, man. It's another guy. Just you guys know what to do. Go follow Mav. Go support everything that gentleman has going on. He runs a phenomenal show. He's the captain of the FSP ship over there. Although Pong would argue, he wears the captain's hat over there. But
no, that's only here. I try to do coups.
God.
Over there, we're cool. Mav runs the ship.
You must be giving him benefits to keep him in charge.
Yeah,
I mean, keep him in line.
I'm
not
scared of
Caitlin.
Benefits. I'm scared of
Caitlin.
Caitlin.
Oh, it's Caitlin. God damn it. So I need an enforcer of some sort.
The better half.
Pong knows his place with us. Okay? He steps out of line. I'll take him out for the captain's chair from PM and the PM. That was my little cookie. You're like, here you go, man.
If you're
Here's
listening,
for your ego.
I need you in this chat. I will immediately make you a mod. Right? So we can put Pong on timeout at any point in time, all those different things. I need intimidation factors to keep him in line,
I mean,
man.
you should see our DMs. He says yes, sir, no, sir to
What?
me and stuff like I mean, it's crazy.
Pong?
Dude.
Not this Pong.
Now he's making shit up. Okay, now he's gone too far. That does not happen, sir.
It's crazy. I gotta tell him, calm down, man. I'm just a person. You know what I mean? Like,
good lord.
no, Pong is definitely. I tell Pong he's the best host on our channel.
Yeah, he's
awesome. Bullshit, but anyways.
No, get out of here. You mod as fuck. Get out of here. You absolutely are, brother.
No, man.
You absolutely are.
No, you modest. You modest piece of shit.
I could never handle Xbox Ultimate. I could never handle the way you do.
I know, right? What the fuck you think Mav is doing? You think Mav is handling anything over there? Like that's just right? Really?
That show is permanently off the rails. That's the way it's supposed to be.
No, if only Xbox ever actually watches that, I might be in trouble.
I know, terrible. But shout out to you for coming through, man. We appreciate you. This is the energy we get. We're always here. Mav is almost always here, at least 2-3 times a month, man. I love having him around just to keep shit, light and just the energies. But I appreciate you, Mav. Once again, chat, you guys know what to do. Go support everything FSP over there. Shout out to Caitlin, Psycho, Jasper, 3-Bit, everybody over there that came through tonight as well, too. But last but not least, my brothers, the two other gentlemen that make this thing what it is, man. Mr. Pong Soul, man. Golden Age of Gaming.
Yes,
we're in a beautiful spot right now, brother. But let everybody know where they can find you, what you got going on.
Amazing Saturday night. Missed it last week. Always do. I'm glad you got to take a break, though, PTK. You got to do that. When you need it, you need it. I understand completely. But it's great to be back here again with my brothers. And, of course, my other brother, Mav, showing up always is extra special. So thank you all for the conversations. It's been one hell of a 3-week period here. Stretch run. A lot of talking, a lot of disagreements, throughout the community and all that kind of stuff. Community is pretty paper thin, but the communities that we've developed on our shows across the board here in the Fun Spec family and, of course, Living Split Screen have been rock solid. And there's been really good talks. And that's what this is about, because we like this stuff. We are passionate, not just for the games, but for the business side and the other things going on in this industry. And it shines through from us on panel, but also the chat as well. That's why I got in here, for that reason. So the nonsense is going to happen no matter what. But here we find some calm waters and we talk through it, even when we don't all have the same perspectives. That's the way it's supposed to be. Love it all. Chat, you guys are absolutely amazing. A part of our shows as much as we are. Love and respect to all of you that come through with level heads and talk about this stuff like just like we do. Appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for your time tonight and on all of our shows. But yeah, you guys know the drill. Pongsol on X, formerly known as Twitter. Pongsol on Xbox. And since I'm playing more on PC, I've started including Pongsol on Steam if you want to follow me there. I've got to get in there and follow some people. I know some people have followed me over there, but feel free. I will get to it and follow you back. Otherwise, tomorrow, I'm going to make tomorrow, I'm not on a show, but Pixelated Echoes is coming tomorrow. A brand new show from two of our brothers from another. Steel Rain and 3-Bit are getting together.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be a match made in heaven. I love this. Mav and I talked about it as soon as we were smiling ear to ear. These two together on a show is going to be cool because they got different perspectives. They're both a little bit younger. 3-Bit's even younger than Steel, but they come with different energies, but both have a wealth of knowledge. Obviously, 3-Bit with his dev stuff and all the creativeness and all that stuff that he's done. Steel with just his multiplayer expertise, his ECP view that he calls it.
I think we got a live update. He said push the next weekend.
Did they push it to next weekend? Okay, I did not hear that. Okay.
That was probably 3-Bit.
It's pushing next weekend. Yeah, okay. I know. That's what I told Steel this morning. I said that he's gonna have to remind 3-Bit that he has a show on Sundays now. So, anyways, okay. So next weekend. Thanks, Steel. I appreciate that, brother. I just saw your chat. So, yeah, next weekend. Get ready for that. Set your alarms for next weekend on Sundays, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Pixelated Echoes is going to be the show over on 3-Bit's channel. So get ready for that. That's going to be a blast when those two get together. So I can't wait for that. Anyways, back to the normal schedule. Tuesdays is Xbox Factor Podcast. All good things green every Tuesday. Double Barrel Gaming is the channel. Mr. Boomstick, of course, is the man. And now on panel is my brother Steel Rain, so it's a little bit even better over there. But you got to be there for that 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time every Tuesday. Thursday nights on the Fun Speculation Network, PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM. Go check out this week's episode that we did last Thursday. Phenomenal show where we broke down our thoughts a lot on everything that was going on. But we do that every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. Join me and Mav for a great show and an amazing chat there as well. And then, of course, on Friday nights, it's back on the Fun Speculation Network for Xbox Ultimate. We actually did a really good job last night staying on track for the most part. But then at the end of the show, we went left again, as always. So, you know what? As much as we try, it still happens. But we laugh a lot, but we talk a lot of good stuff. And you got to join the rest of the fam there. Lots of different ideas that get thrown around when we get the group together. We have a blast. So join us there, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. And then, of course, Saturday mornings, it is living split screen time. That's right. The Splitters go live 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, raw and uncut every Saturday. So be there. Set the alarms. Me and my brother from another Steel Rain, 4+ hours. Buckle up every Saturday. We're going to take you from your morning to your afternoon, or from your afternoon to your evening, depending where you are in the world. And we do have people outside of the United States watching us. So be there for that every Saturday morning on Living Split Screen. Split Screen is all one word. And then back here next Saturday, God willing, for another great episode of the Shop Podcast with my brothers. So guess what, everybody? It's the golden age of gaming. It is. Forget all this nonsense. Gaming isn't dying. Xbox isn't going anywhere. It's risen from the dead for the 100th time since I started podcasting 3 years ago. Amazingly enough, they invested more money than ever before, and they're still here. Shocking. But it is a golden age. So get out there, enjoy the games that we were just talking about, or whatever you're playing. Play what you love what you play. And I'll talk to you all real soon. PTK, back to you, sir.
Appreciate you, sir. Once again, go follow Pong. Easiest way, keep up with him on Twitter/X, man. We appreciate the energy, the train, everything, everybody that's donated, the new members, all the cool people hanging out with us, man. But appreciate you the most, Pong. Always bringing that energy. You're the battery of the Shop Podcast. And last but not least, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere. Another show in the books. Glad to be back this week, brother. It's always good to get our bars off. I always feel different when I don't get a chance to do this, so it's always good to be back. But, brother, another good show in the books, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, glad to be here with you guys. Always awesome when we have Mav on here as well. Next week, I know I'm probably going to be away for a week. Well, I'm away for a week, starting I guess Thursday. So I'm going to miss the podcast next week, but we'll definitely be listening from the cruise ship. So I'll be in the chat and stuff as opposed to being able to talk with you guys. But always awesome listening and interacting with you guys and getting your thoughts on things and just talking about this hobby we all share kind of deal. And then everybody in the chat, always appreciate you guys checking us out. Love that you interact with us. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. We always appreciate all the time and effort that you guys put in, watching us, listening to us and whatnot. For those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on for a number of podcasts, although I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break, but I will be on FSP Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time next week. And then I'll have to rejoin you guys, not this next Saturday, but the Saturday thereafter, and look forward to it. And hopefully there's no crazy, news or secret unveilings or secret showcases or anything like that in between them. But look forward to being back with you guys in a week or so. Thanks again.
Appreciate you, Fuzz. Always coming through, man, bringing that energy. So thank you, man. Go follow Fuzz. The easiest way to keep up with him, follow him on Twitter/X as well, too, man. Go check out his profile, find all of his ramblings. But appreciate you, Fuzz, always coming through, keeping things smooth. And last but not least, your host here, PTK Blam, across the board. I want to play some games. Hit me up on Xbox at PTK Blam. Hit me up on Twitter/X at PTK Blam. Like I said, DMs are always open. I appreciate you guys' energy, ideas if you have them, anything to make the show any better. I'm always open to that. Constructive criticism is always welcomed as well. But thank you guys. Every single week gets bigger. You guys, subscribe and do all these cool things. And, we're going to try and put more into this to give back to you guys as well, too. So thank you. Same place, same time next week. More great topics, more great guests as well, too. So look forward to that. But enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out, everybody.
Later.